habibi, alamak habibi, anura sanayay, anara nilibli bala bala ba. Ano, anura sanay.
Why don't you like? Well, you said I'm not a Muslim, and then you don't like that I'm a Shiite. Why is that? What's wrong with being Shiite?
'Cause it sounds like shit.
But it's better than a Sunni. That sounds like diarrhea, if you ask me. Alice, boo boo, you do deserve much better than this. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
I actually laughed at you.
Hello?
You say usually makes you laugh, but like the whole pretend to be a female. That
Hello?
one. Yeah.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, there's still
Hello?
breakup happening.
Hello?
That. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I need, bro, I need at least like one.
Alice, boo boo, when are you gonna go out with me for steak? What?
Like what kind of steak though?
Free Palestine.
Oh shit! Wait, I wanted to go.
Free Palestine.
Okay.
No more Hamas, no more crime. Free Palestine. No more Hamas, no more shawarma. No more Hamas, no more time.
I would like to take you out for some steak.
Free Palestine.
And
No more shawarma, no more wine. Free Palestine. No more Hamas, no more wine. Free Palestine.
How was the Turkish guy
What
that you were talking with him? The Turkish guy.
I left.
Free Palestine. No more Hamas, no more wine.
Yeah. Mitty, are you American?
Free Palestine. No more Hamas, no more wine. Free the hostages and kill all the Hamas swine.
Alex, get rid of that.
Free Palestine. No more Hamas, free the hostages. Free Palestine. No more hostages. Stop your whine. Free Palestine.
Yeah, free Palestine, right?
What up, my guy?
Yo, 80s baby, what's up, dog?
Yeah, but Palestine will never be
Long
free.
time no see. It's only been a couple hours.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Habibi. How are you, Dr. 80s baby?
Congrats about you. That's the thing. Sounds
Very, very good, my friend. What's up, Alice? What's up? How are you? How are you, Alice?
Oh, sorry. I'm reading someone's bio. How are you?
What are you reading? Oh, I'm good. What's good?
I'm reading a woman's bio. It's kind of interesting.
Who's? You read my bio.
Rabbi, I was wondering if we could do a Torah study sometime exclusively and I could cash app you or like become your patron or something. Can we do like an intimate Torah study? You're so good at Torah. Thank you, Dr. Rabbi, for consideration of making me a student in your Talmudic school.
What? No. What? No. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Let me join too. I would like to join also, sir.
What are you gonna teach us in the
And
Torah?
why don't you? I have one condition, Rabbi. If I join,
2 demands and 1 condition?
comedian cannot be a part of this. He cannot join. Can I ask you, Alice, what you asking me
He's
for?
gonna be real stressed.
What am I hearing right now?
The truth?
You're on
No, honestly, like,
English words.
Put your hair by a comedian, though.
Free Palestine. No more Hamas, no more crime. Free Palestine.
So annoying.
No more Hamas, no more wine. Free Palestine.
You keep bitching about it.
No more Hamas, no more wine.
Yes. Hey, shut up, man. Just shut the hell up, man. That shit, dude.
Out of respect for you, I didn't kick him. That's
Like,
all.
bro,
I don't see that. This nigga out.
real shit.
Free Palestine. No more Hamas, no more wine.
No, comedian. You gotta work on your
Free
material, bro.
Palestine.
It's kind of stale, my boy.
No more Hamas, no more crime.
God damn, I gotta get it. He's hurting my ears, though.
Free Palestine.
Alright, I'm out. This shit crazy.
Hello?
What about it?
Hello? Hello?
Do what now? What did you say?
Free Palestine. No more clown house, no more wine.
You see, he's destroying your room, Alice.
She finally kicked it.
Everywhere. The most beautiful thing I've seen so far is going to Ephesus, the ancient city. That shit was incredible. And I have a theory that I'm like working on with like a book, but walking in a place where ancient civilization was once lived was amazing. Like everything was marble, not concrete. Like everything was fucking marble. Still like walking on marble pathways that existed thousands and thousands of years ago is crazy. And it's like, how the fuck did this happen? How did they build this like big ass things? Like the columns, all of that, everything is marble. That shit crazy. I didn't see concrete unless they had to replace something where the earthquake ruined. Everything was still marble, and the Church of Mary was still there, so I got to visit that. I didn't get to visit the house of the Virgin Mary because her house was a little further away than where I was, and I was already tired because it was like a 4-hour walk around that whole place. But that was so beautiful, just to like walk where that civilization existed. But that was crazy. But yeah, I have been Dora the Explorer every freaking where. So if I come back because I'm in Izmir, I'm not in Istanbul, so I'm in Izmir. So if I ever come back here, I like know the lay of the land. I know how things work. I've taken the train. I've taken buses. I try to be a local as much as I can to really get the experience.
You making me think of things that I want, places I want to go. Always want to go to Greece for sure.
Well, don't slip.
I was supposed to go to Greece. I'm mad. I was supposed to go to Greece. That was the whole point of coming here, freaking earth.
Crazy.
You can't if you do share without voice.
Free Palestine. No more Hamas, no more
Came on a different
crime.
account because he got
Free Palestine. Free the hostages right now before the IDF kills all of you. Free Palestine.
Free your mama from you, bitch. Free us from
Free Palestine. No more hummus, no more wine. Free the hostages now. Free. Oh, you finally kicked me.
At the sign thing when you go to the house. Couldn't even come in. Chris Brown today makes women sign. Hey, you in here? Oh, you got to sign this.
I heard Justin Bieber used to do that before he got married.
Everybody.
He removed or messed.
Free Palestine.
This is my lock.
No more hummus, no more crime.
he was in the
Free,
bus.
free
This
Palestine.
was in the bus close
Free
to
the hostages, right?
In fact, we can go back and see that we passed through the Radcliffe Wave about 13 million years ago. And we'll
No, I didn't kick her to talk to her, man. I kicked her because
You did kick her
I
down.
can't hear anything
You
you're
did kick her down.
I-
Come on, y'all hold in.
Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more wine. Free, free Palestine. Release the hostages right now, or the IDF will kick your ass. Free, free Palestine. They kicked me.
And their hands and feet.
Well, I don't remember any place in the Bible where Jesus said that Jesus was beat.
Don't be saying nothing. Y'all sound like a broken record. And y'all weak.
Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more wine. Free, free
All
Palestine.
right. Have a good night. Out with the troll. So, like I said,
It's the super troll.
all that with people, they hear it.
Click on my picture. My shit's hyperlinked. It's an easy one, you know?
Follow me.
Shit in the corner of your mouth. What that is?
Oh, this nigga. Just come get your room back, yo.
Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more wine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more crime.
to go to Atlanta with nowhere to stay, no money. I had $146 when I got off the plane.
Bitch, you had $146 and nowhere to sleep, nowhere to go. What did you do?
Didn't charge me a quarter. I started.
The Israelites learn it. You learn the Bible from a different perspective. So I'm not saying that I know the Bible more than you. What I'm saying is the overall points that you're going to make, I'm going to destroy. Now, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. I don't want...
Johnny K. Bitch. Like I said, back to the women. Exactly. So the bitch that don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you. You don't think a man that can handle 42
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like,
this is what I'm saying. You don't even work. Okay, so how much is your household, nigga? I'm not talking to you, little nigga. I'm a little nigga, but you ain't talking about fantasy money and fantasy bitches. Nah, no fantasies. We having a conversation. Everything fantasy, because I don't. You don't have. I ain't got time to talk to those sassy niggas, man. You don't have.
Fuck him. What is he talking about? That I had. Black women ain't out here murdering. Do you watch like true crime? Shit is white people shit.
No, we're gonna have a realistic conversation. We're gonna have a realistic conversation.
It ain't about the conversation. He must be talking about white women and what they do, and he always flipping it on some black women. That's all.
And I agree with Mimi on that. But if we having a realistic conversation, most celebrities are not getting lined up by black women, not on this level.
I've been on this planet for long enough to hear where y'all going, all this shit y'all talking about. I got you. I'll fall back. I won't speak on it.
Just take them. So I'm always.
Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more wine. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more crime. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more crime. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more crime. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more crime. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more wine. Free. Oh my God.
كده كنت صورة يعني بس.
الصورة عربي العربي النسياني مثلا كنت تيجي النزول قالي يعني anyway this is out of the topic okay like
I thought it was the beginning of a questionable barbecue.
I mean, it's clearly the fucking Texas humor is not any better than the fucking.
You know that the brisket's the cheapest worst part of the cow, right?
Yes.
That's just that it is. It's impressive because it's like it's a work of art what they managed to do with the fucking thing. It's like, you know, it's like taking fucking like weeds out of a fucking ditch on the side of the highway and making like an edible salad out of them. It's actually astonishing, but it still tastes like. It just won't make you throw up. And you can actually manage to swallow it. It's very impressive.
Yeah, those sugar aids really fuck up U2's taste buds. June said, you give the sugar aids too. There's no way that body type. Shut up. There's no way that body type doesn't have sugar aids.
It's like the worst thing you can wish on somebody. Holy shit!
I didn't wish it on you. I said you already had it.
There's no relation between type 1 and type 2 sugar aids, Trey. So like. That's like being like, oh my god, if it's like if you have herpes, then you both have fucking AIDS.
Also don't have either, so.
Wait, so it's just fish that has the herpes?
The fish has herpes.
I'm astonishingly immune to fucking herpes simplex virus.
1/8 of the population, but it's only.
It's like I couldn't have been immune to fucking my own immune system. Instead, I'm fucking immune to an annoying disease that doesn't really do anything.
Well, I apparently have diabetes, according to Trey.
There's no way you don't.
Oh my god, Al.
Do you get tired when you walk a long time?
Oh, I run 3 miles a day.
You don't get tired at the end of the day?
Trey, I'll record my run tomorrow if you want.
Alright, let me see your 3 miles.
We also feel joy and happiness because we're back in our home, only to suffer later on. So we go back to the
I do hope I get to eat my words and I get to see you run 3 miles.
I thought you wanted to show you the secret fucking
Listen. The next time I go to Florida, matter of fact, I'm only going to eat barbecue and I'm going to eat it.
Because it has been filled with holy acts.
You definitely do not fucking go to like Son's barbecue or like any of the fucking chains. That's not gonna work out. You will get slightly different styles in different places. I'm a big fan of like.
There goes like the whole year of work.
Kind of shit.
If you're like out of retirement, you just lost a quarter, you lost $250,000. You're like, fuck.
Those dry ass ribs, or are you talking about the vinegar type?
No, I'm talking about the ribs that just
The
like
good Florida
falls to pieces as you
barbecue is Georgia or Carolina style. Is that?
It's a mixture of styles.
Yes, and they'll have like an array of sauces that you can like squirt on your fucking barbecue.
That's what you call that dog shit they serve you in Florida? A mixture of styles?
Yeah, you've never had it. By the way, Trey, I'm literally in the water right now doing my treading water for 15 minutes, which I do.
Free Palestine. No more hummus, no more crime. Free Palestine.
This guy has so many accounts.
No more hummus, no more wine. Free Palestine.
Wait, can you sing it to music comedy, please?
You want me to play the music, or are you gonna play the music?
I'll play it. Alright, Yalla, come on.
Yalla, Habibi. Free Palestine. No more music, it's a crime.
gonna go sleep. I'm gonna hear your fucking voice.
She's not gonna be able to fall asleep. She'll be remembering the psyop torture.
She told me she don't really like him. Oh my god, this nigga is back. I know you ain't live on YouTube right now. It's about to be 2 in the morning, dude. Do you ever go to bed? I'm gonna let you come up. I'm gonna let you up for a little bit.
Don't tweak out and get drunk.
Come up, Republican. He probably talking shit in the goo on his line. Listening to us talking shit. I ain't gonna lie, that shit was so funny earlier when he came in. We joined that nigga's live. He started laughing. That nigga started laughing. I sent you an invite.
Dude, I thought that nigga eating mayonnaise now. Don't shut up.
She said mayonnaise. That shit was funny as fuck. I didn't expect him to be, that much older though. Like,
I know he would.
that nigga old man. Like, he's live. He just put a link in the chat.
He put the link in the chat.
Hey, you gonna stop putting me on your live for real? I'm not playing. I'm gonna sue you.
Come on,
I'm about to sue you. I'm gonna sue you.
Don't bring him up here real quick.
I did, but he won't come up. I sent him 2 requests.
He wanna come. He's mad. He wanna come up.
He want us to come watch his live.
Sit for comedy, don't let it come.
Yeah, fuck comedy, bitch. It's worse than. Hey, what's up, everyone? What's up, Joe? Welcome, guys. This is Tommy.
I'm pissed.
Roll. Double check. Break it down. Let's also count. Sorry, I can't even
talk from
fucking
your
count. Sorry, it's broke noodles.
experience and respect everyone.
I love everyone.
Or not.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about in this now.
Documentary on the history of mechanics, but it's in the form.
Free Palestine! No more hummus, no more wine! Free Palestine! No more hummus, no more crime!
But see, even with the time room, we gotta be able
Rising of the dogs in Italy and the oppression.
Free Palestine! No more hummus, no more crime! Free Palestine!
Carry on, Jose.
You're not funny. Okay.
Free Palestine! No more hummus, no more crime! It's gonna be driving these people crazy. Oh, so funny. Oh.
I have unlimited potential.
Daraj, my brother.
I now see greater potential in myself than I have ever seen.
Preaching truth. Preaching truth.
My skills and talents improve each and every day.
I like this talk.
Every action I take brings me closer to my dreams. he whose law is within himself walks in hiddenness. His acts are not influenced by approval or disapproval. He whose law is outside corrects his.
We're just gonna take this time to do a quick reset.
Oh shit.
Take a deep breath.
Reset.
Settle into a comfortable position. And allow yourself to relax completely.
Relax completely now.
Let go of any tension. And as you listen to these positive messages, allow them to gently speak to your subconscious mind. Trust that these words are planting seeds of peace and renewal. So when you wake up, you feel refreshed, inspired, and ready to embrace the new day with clarity and calm. If you're ready to dive deep into your transformation, visit the link pinned at the top of the page and check out the book Your Transformation section on my website so you can schedule a one-on-one session with me so we can create a personalized plan that aligns with your goals and your deepest desires. Let this process be a part of your ongoing transformation. Let's get it. You deserve to feel good now. You've been working hard.
In ancient times, she had been amazing fatted to death in Job. He was able to release a cow.
Everything that you dream of,
He was like,
everything that you desire is coming true for you. But first you gotta believe. You gotta know that everything that's in your heart is meant for you. And it's always been meant for you.
Brother. Yeah.
You've been removing yourself from toxic people.
Toxicity. Goodbye.
You've been removing yourself from toxic situations.
Toxicity. Take care.
You're growing. You're shining. And that looks good on you.
Oh, I'm glowing.
Your heart is open.
My heart is open.
You are filled with love.
I'm filled with love.
You are filled with a sense of peace. A sense of calm.
Start the match. Hello.
And you know
Join now.
that one day
A Muslim.
everything will fall right into place for you. The love that you've been giving out lately, it will not return unto you void. It's going to come back to you. Because you've been given, you're going to start receiving.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to come back to you tenfold.
Tenfold. We cloud seed.
You are so amazing.
Unbelievable.
You can't nobody do it quite like you.
Oh, my God.
You are irreplaceable.
You're irreplaceable.
You bring something to the table that can't nobody else bring.
Oh, my God. He's speaking the truth.
You are so dope.
I'm so dope. I'm so dope.
You are amazing.
You are amazing.
And I'm thankful and I'm grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello?
I love your smile.
I love you too, brother.
I love the way you laugh.
I love the way you laugh too, brother.
I love everything that makes you, you.
I love that about you.
Not only do I see it, but everybody else sees it.
No. No.
You are worthy. You are deserving.
I deserve it.
Your light shines through all of the darkness.
My light shines through all the darkness.
You bring light to everyone around you.
Thank you, brother.
They need you. You were sent here to help heal the world. And you're doing an amazing job at it. You seem to always fall into the right place at the right time.
Hello?
You're always meeting with the right people that's going to take you to the next level in your life.
Oh, yeah.
And you're hot.
You're not afraid. You that you will always be led right where you need to be.
We trust him.
You've been striving for more, and more is what you're gonna get. Why? Because you're worthy of it.
I see you talking to a black, listening to a black man.
You've been exercising. You've been treating your body right. Yeah. And sometimes you fall off, but you always get right back on there. And you're determined. You're determined to get it done, and you will. You are so full of light. I can see the light in you.
This is my man, Raj, giving us that positive, high frequency vibration.
Behind all the hurt.
Neurolinguistic program.
Behind all the pain. Behind all the suffering. It's this beautiful light.
Bright light.
And you've always had it. And you've been unraveling it, releasing it, growing stronger. So you can
I ain't right now.
When you're a junior head, he looked like he
Hey, comedian, can you sing that song for us like you did the other night in Benji's room?
Which song?
Pause your affirmations for a second, okay?
Which song was it? I don't remember the song that I sang in Benji's room. What was it?
It was the one where you lift your head up off your head and put it back down. Bald head.
I can't remember the song you sung in Benji's room, but it was funny as hell. Oh yeah, it was about Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, you want to hear the Carmelo Anthony song?
Yeah, go ahead.
Free, free Carmelo Anthony. Free, free Carmelo. He did not commit a crime. He just didn't have the time. He stuck him with a knife because it was raining. He didn't want to get wet that day. So he said, fuck it, enjoy your life. I'm just doing my life. It's just my message. My name is Carmelo. I didn't want to have to kill, but they wanted me to leave the tent. But it was raining out and I get wet. My name is Carmelo Anthony. You can find me on GoFundMe. The name is Carmelo Anthony. I didn't want to have to kill that day, but they told me I'd have to slay.
They gonna lie with their song. Right now. And got a peach fake button down.
This is my next song on my album. It's called Free, Free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more wine. Free, free Palestine. No more hummus, no more crime. Free, free Palestine. No more shawarma, it's a crime. Free, free Palestine. Free the hostages right now. Let them go, please, and we will blow you all up with a mine. Free, free Palestine. The next song is called High Frequency Positive Vibration.
I'm gonna look at it when I stop driving. He cheesed hard as hell when he said that.
You said pink when you said that. You took the same color as your shirt on your back. Pink on shirt ass. There you go.
Dre, you said you clicked it?
No, I said I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna wait till I get home. I'm driving right now. I'm gonna look at it when I get to the house though.
Okay, it might be gone because it's live. He on live. That shit is hilarious, bro.
Which link is it?
You want us to join your live next?
He put up another link. He put up another link.
The one you did, or two? The two at the bottom.
No, the one comedian did.
The first one or the second one?
Both of them is the same one.
Oh, okay. Hold on, let me see if I can do it.
He think he got fans now. Look at him.
It's true, like he think he got fans. I look at him, his hat laying.
He happy as hell.
Well, every time you smile, your hat laying. Submarine hat ass, dude. Fuck dude. Yawning and shit. Thank you, breath ass nigga.
Okay, I'm gonna put a new hat on. Just give me 1 second.
He shook his head, yeah. Do we see you take? Oh, he took it off.
I don't see nothing. It's a black screen.
Try the other link.
Let's see your outfit.
This nigga, he putting on the fry. I knew you was one of those, bro.
Stand up, bro. Let's see
I knew you was one of those. Free Palestine. Bro, I can't. No more Hamas, it's a crime. Free Palestine. No more Hamas, it's a crime. Oh shit. He wiggling the mask and shit.
She's like he wiggling the mask. If a bro gonna fall off, where you gotta calm down. Told you. I told you. I'm smart. Bro.
Yeah, he took it all because he couldn't breathe.
He used to be in the DC National Guard.
Oh, did you guys work together? Or?
Yeah, our side hustle, the DC National Guard. And I met him in my unit. He was just in my unit. And I don't know, I can go on about you guys.
Now, Nicholas Terza claims that he knows Hegseth from the DC National Guard, but we spoke to a senior official at the Pentagon who said that's not true, that Hegseth has not ever heard of this man or seen him.
But what do you think the intent is? Is it like they want to hurt America?
I think they don't care who they hurt to enact a change that they see making America a populist, conservative framework.
Because he got two different phones with two different angles.
Overthrowing elections. He's just like truly saying it's not wrong. He's legitimate. He's purely immoral, breaking every law. We're gonna resist him. Everything he does.
James O'Keefe here in Arlington, Virginia, in front of the Pentagon. The branch chief inside the Pentagon saying on hidden camera he's going to resist against Trump and Hegseth. Now, since President Trump was elected and assigned Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, the DOD has faced a number of leaks in the past few months from employees inside the Pentagon.
There's some type of deep state forces that want to make sure you don't stay there.
They've come after me from day one, just like they've come after President Trump. I mean, I've gotten a fraction of what President Trump got in that first term.
The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has been going on media interviews expressing that there are people within the Pentagon who want to resist the president and hurt his policies.
I know exactly why I'm here, to rip out the insidious ideologies and not compromise and not back down, to reestablish standards and accountability.
Nicholas Terza, a branch chief within the DOD, expressed dissatisfaction with his new boss, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, claiming he is too young for the job.
So I'm assuming that your boss isn't Pete Hegseth.
Ultimately, he is my boss.
Okay.
But this is insane. I actually know Pete Hegseth.
You do? Like personally?
This is so crazy. Like, that's not a good reflection on me. That's a bad reflection on Trump. Like, nobody I know should be the Secretary of Defense. Like, he's insanely young to be the part, like, and he wasn't that high up in the military. He used to be in the DC National Guard.
Oh, did you guys work together? Or?
Yeah, I mean, in our side hustle in the DC National Guard. And I met him in my unit. He was just in my unit. And I don't know, I can go on about Pete Hegseth.
Now, Nicholas Terza claims that he knows Hegseth from the DC National Guard, but we spoke to a senior official at the Pentagon who said that's not true, that Hegseth has not ever heard of this man or seen him.
But what do you think the intent is? Is it like they want to hurt America?
I think they don't care who they hurt to enact a change that they see making America in a populist conservative framework more traditional, even if that means being sexist or racist or chauvinist.
Terza also saying on hidden camera he did not know he was being recorded, that Trump is an illegitimate president, an immoral dictator, and they plan to resist everything Trump does.
The same guy who tried to overthrow an election is just like truly saying that because he's illegitimate, he's purely immoral, breaking every norm. We're gonna resist him, everything he does. Like, I am a very patriotic person, and I've never been less patriotic.
Now, the reason this is concerning, the Department of Defense is often directly responsible for the president's safety in the event of travel, events, campaign rallies, and everything else.
What's your least favorite thing about Trump?
Oh, that he utterly lacks any moral principle. The worst thing about him is his utter lack of moral principle. The second worst thing about him is how stupid he could be.
Should the president's safety be entrusted with people who believe that he is illegitimate and immoral? And here we have a field trip. Let's take a look. People are coming in. Hello, everyone. How you doing? This is James O'Keefe reporting live in front of the Pentagon at the Memorial, Air Force Memorial here in Arlington, Virginia. Stay tuned.
Same guy who tried to overthrow an election.
Yes, all good. I want to start by asking you about the meeting that you had in the Oval Office. How do you feel that you could have handled things better with the president and vice president?
The meeting in the Oval Office, it did not help Ukraine.
You spent nearly $200 billion to the defense of Ukraine. There are lots of questions about where...
Oh, he's back.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Oh no.
No more hummus, it's a
He
crime.
want his viewers back.
Free Palestine.
Okay, hold on.
No more shawarma should be a crime.
Come on, man. 1 second, bald head. 1 second.
Brilliantly bright, shining so white. It's such a light on my dome.
The previous administration issued unlawful orders on mandatory vaccines on an experimental vaccine, COVID-19. You know it, we know it. We all know that the previous administration issued unlawful orders on mandatory vaccines on an experimental vaccine, COVID-19. You know it, we know it. We all know that the previous administration issued unlawful...
Why you got other houses playing in the background?
No, that's Pete Hegseth saying that they're going to investigate the vaccines. Do you want me to keep singing you the Free Palestine song, or are you looking for something spicier like Free Carmelo?
I want you to rap some food shite.
You want some, you want the come of some young guy? Who shot you?
Hey, Carmen, since you won't live right now, let's talk.
You want some Biggie? Funny with the money, yo, you got me mistaken, honey. I don't want to rape you. I just want the papers, the visa, capisha. I'm out like the papers. Who the head clown house Cumacho? The Matrix, yeah, every day I go to the gym and I work out on a treadmill called Matrix.
No, I didn't say be stupid right now. Yo,
Hello?
Hello.
Under the direction, command, and authority of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, CMAC will conduct rapid response audits of all Department of Defense combatant and joint commands. CMAC will act with direction from and coordination with the Office of the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America. CMAC will function to realign the service component branches of the Department of Defense back to its core mission: defense of our constitutional republic abroad through strength at home. Terminal objectives: observe, identify, coordinate, course correction, azimuth check, restoration, presentation, and self-termination. Conduct observatory audit of all SEEK COCOMs immediately upon order from the SIC.
Literally watching you say that shit. Like,
Nigga, pop the fucking Adderall. Goddamn.
he cheesing like a motherfucker in this video.
He don't even know that we ain't listening to this shit on Blue, right?
Hello?
Hello?
Ivan Rankin, how you doing, sir? Good. Good to see you. It's been a while. Man, good to be here. Good to be here. So, it's been what, 4 years, 2 months since January 6th. COVID-19. You know it, we know it. We all... What? I know, Steve. You probably missed a couple of days in there too, but yeah, it's been about that. So what brings us together? What do you think brings us together? Well, we probably wouldn't have met had January 6th not occurred, but obviously January 6th is here. It happened, and it brought us together here. Both of us are trying to get answers and find out the truth about what occurred that day, and probably some other things too. We want answers for. All right. So what I'd like to do is, over the next hour, we're gonna have a conversation where I want to kind of lay out to you and anybody listening in of what my role was from what I was involved in exposing what I thought and what now more evidence is proving to be that there were constitutional violations to the electoral process, which ultimately culminated in January 6th, the way it played out, as well as, as part of that, I started doing an investigation into the leadership of those within the Capitol. And a lot of people don't realize that there's been a lot of talk about the weaponization over at the Department of Justice, the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is part of the Department of Justice, the courts that ruled in egregious manners that slap folks with, extended sentences that are well beyond what most people would consider as fair and just sentences. That part I don't want to discuss at all, because that's been addressed by many other people. The reason why you are probably the most important individual to interview to go into detail about January 6th is because you understand the decision-making process, the law enforcement component of a branch of government that has no responsibility, oversight, or does not have to respond to the courts in this situation or the DOJ, the executive branch. And a lot of people are going to think like, oh, well, Ivan's talking about nonsense here. And I think you're going to be able to help explain how the Capitol Police is a separate law enforcement entity, your jurisdictional authorities, and how things operate internally. And maybe we're going to get to specific names of those individuals that were involved in being on the other side of what occurred on January 6th. So we've all seen, the rioters, whatever you want to call them, rioters, election justice rally attendees, etc. You've done several interviews. This one I want to make sure that we really hit upon who are the key players and decision makers to determine, hey, are we going to have protection? How much protection are we going to have? Who do we protect? How do we protect them? And what are those relationships between the protectees, right? Yeah. So is there anybody better to interview than you? It'd be tough to find somebody. All right. Being that you're it sounds like you're tied for being the most humble person in the history of humanity. I try to be humble. Let's roll with the interview. So just to start, let's give a little bit of taste to people of your background, of why you are probably the best person to ask any question about the last quarter of a century, essentially, of U.S. Capitol Police.
Well, in 1999, I started with the department, and I left the department in 2022. So I was a member of the Capitol Police for 23 and a half years. I've worked in various assignments. I got promoted to special agent, and that's under the Dignitary Protection Division. And
now, when you go through, sorry to interrupt, because I know some of the components and training that goes on based on my background. When you say special agent, what training do you go through, and where do you do the training?
We trained at different locations. It depended upon what the training was. We had vehicle training.
But to become a special agent.
Yeah, you had to go through. It was a lot of book work to become a special agent. Classroom work. We had to attend special driving. And we had this. There are certain things you have to do that regular officers don't have to do. You have to travel. You have to fly a lot. So we had to have specialized training for how to fly while on. So we had, it was a lot of different training courses we had to take to successfully complete the program to become a special agent for the Dignitary Protection Division under Protective Services Bureau of the Capitol Police. So I had to do all those.
Time out. You're going into areas that most people don't understand. So let's kind of break it down. Let's go into the legal framework of your authorities, right? So you have Title II U.S. Code, Chapter 29 talks about how the Congress authorized this entity known as the Capitol Police, right? Yes. And within that, you have above that guides the Capitol Police decision making is the Capitol Police Board, right?
Correct.
And that's appointed by the Speaker of the House, Senate Majority Leader, through the two sergeants at arms, and then architect of the Capitol. It's kind of like the governing body, right?
Yes.
Underneath that, you have a Capitol Police Chief, and then from there, talk us through who is subordinate to the Capitol Police Chief, and how does that break down to operationally, intel-wise, and then protective services? If you can kind of talk through that.
I can. Right now, the Capitol Police, they have three different bureaus. You have Training Services Bureau, you have the Operations Bureau, and you have the Protective Services Bureaus. You have three different bureaus. And you have an assistant chief under each one. Over top of each one, the chief of police is in charge of the assistant chiefs for all three of those bureaus. So that's how it works. Protective Service Bureau is the people who are like criminal investigations, dignitary protection. Training is pretty self-explanatory. Right. They're in charge of training.
When you say dignitary protection, what does that mean?
That is, you have members of Congress that are in the positions of leadership. And you have special agents that protect those members of leadership. It should be, I believe it's 9 specific members of leadership that they protect. And wherever they go, the agents go. So wherever their home states are, the agents travel to their home states. If they're going to a different state for an event, if let's say for argument's sake you have Mike Johnson, and he's going to Texas for an event. You're going to have an agent or maybe 2 agents go out there and do the advance, and they're going to make sure that They have a plan as far as running the routes. They're gonna know where he's going to be at in case of an emergency, where the closest hospital to the event where he's going to take him to. So they're gonna set all that stuff up, get his hotel reservations and make sure all that stuff is set up. So when he hits the ground off the airplane, they'll take him right to wherever he wants to go, whether he wants to go to the event, whether he wants to go to his room. And they're going to make sure that the plan is written. For the most part, they have, it's a lot to do advanced work, so I can't go through all the right. So, yeah. But just to let you know that they provide protection for him wherever he goes, anywhere in the country, anywhere out of the country. Capitol Police is going to have special agents there to protect him wherever he goes.
So the other bureaus are training to make sure that people are capable, the officers are capable to run protection of the buildings, right?
Correct.
Well, and then separate from that, you have the dignitary.
Well, they also make sure that they're also training. Also make sure that they're wherever they go. Whether if they go to patrol division, they make sure that they're equipped and ready to be patrol division officers. If they're going to, because those same officers, sometimes they finish training and they go right to PSB, Protective Services Bureau. So they make sure that the officer training is responsible for that officer, the new recruits, to become solo beat officers so they can be police officers and know their duties and their responsibilities.
When you say patrol, though, is that the vehicle checkpoints that are around throughout the Capitol outside, or does that include also?
Those are the divisions. Patrol are the guys that are in the cars driving around. The ones that the checkpoints there, they belong to the divisions. Like the House Division has officers, and it's called tips. So they're out there and they're making sure that trucks and buses don't come through. So even though they're in cars, they're not patrol division. Those are officers assigned to the divisions. And they have a specific job of not allowing certain vehicles to come through their checkpoint.
So you said divisions. That falls under which bureau?
The divisions fall underneath the Operations Services Bureau.
So Operations Service Bureau has certain divisions, and then you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you have the House Division?
Yes.
Which covers, what, the 5 House buildings?
Yes, House,
Cannon?
the Cannon, the Rayburn, the Longworth building. They take care of the O'Neill building as well. They also take care of the Ford building too. So that's what the House Division does. The Senate Division, they have the Russell building, they have the Dirksen building, they have the Hart building, they have the Senate daycare. That's their responsibility. They take care of that. It could have, there's a daycare, but they could have went to Patrol Division. Things changed, so I'm not 100% sure about that, and it's not right on the hill. You have the Patrol Division. I'm sorry, you have the Library Congress Division, and they take care of the library buildings, and then you have the Patrol Division, and those are the ones that are driving around in cars.
Now, who covers down on the Supreme Court?
You have the Supreme Court is we don't actually do the Supreme Court. We're the library. The Supreme Court, they have their own police department.
Yeah, so I know they have the marshals, Supreme Court marshals inside the building, and then you have Supreme Court security.
I think,
but as far as I understand, is that under Title II U.S. Code Section 1979B, 67B, it lists that the grounds upon which the Supreme Court resides is part of U.S. Capitol Police's jurisdictional zone, but you guys don't touch that, right? Even though that may be in statute, you guys stay.
For the most part, the Supreme Court, unless their chief calls our chief, the Supreme Court typically does their own thing. We have assisted the Supreme Court in certain events. I have been on the scene where there were demonstrations, and we've assisted the Supreme Court. But for the most part, their side of the street, they take care of it. Outside of the street, they take care of it.
Okay. Now you mentioned side of the street. Who has a responsibility for the street itself?
It would be
in that vicinity.
Patrol Division, Capitol Police does. So
does DC Metro have any play in that?
No, if Metropolitan is over there and they see, if they witness something, the Metropolitan is going to make they can make a stop over there.
So there's that. It's concurrent jurisdiction.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So Metropolitan is Metropolitan. So it's different when it comes to inside of the buildings. Metropolitan, they don't come in our buildings and make arrests inside of the buildings, but outside, Metropolitan, they can make traffic.
So inside the building, you have unilateral authority.
Inside
no other law enforcement entity, executive branch, judiciary, they can't come in unless they get permission from.
That's 1%.
Who gives the authorization?
Yeah, that's 1%. Yeah, they don't have any law enforcement jurisdiction. They don't. The Metropolitan Police, they don't do any police work inside of our buildings. We take it. We take that. Now, if there was certain crimes, if there was a murder inside of one of the buildings on Capitol grounds, then Metropolitan would take that because they are the primary investigatory agency for any homicides in D.C. The Capitol Police will be a secondary. So I'm sure that they get in.
Is that what occurred with?
Well, actually, Babbitt Metropolitan was the primary law enforcement agency that was doing the investigation.
Okay. So we're going into the kind of structure. So we got the Capitol Police Chief at the top. You have the 3 bureaus.
Yes.
Training Bureau. We're not going to cover that. It's self-explanatory. You got the Operations Bureau, which we talked about. The Library of Congress Division, House Division, Senate Division, and there's also a Capitol Division.
The Capitol Division, of course, that's the other one, and SOD, which is Patrol Division.
Okay.
Yeah, so Special Operations Division. So that's what they have.
So there's 5 divisions.
So it's 5 divisions.
Okay. And you worked primarily in which of those divisions?
The Capitol Division.
So the Capitol Division.
Capitol Division is where I spent most of my career in the Capitol.
And what does that cover?
The Capitol and the Capitol grounds and the CVC.
Okay, so for people that
the Capitol
first time they ever heard of
this. Yeah, the Capitol Visitor Center.
The Capitol meaning the actual chamber, the Senate and the House.
Correct.
And the rotunda.
Yes.
The Capitol Visitor Center underneath. And that is essentially, and that does not include what we just talked about, the Senate buildings, office buildings, the House office buildings,
nope,
or the Library of Congress. That is separate, just that one building.
Correct.
Okay.
And the grounds outside.
And the grounds outside of it.
Yes. Everything on the Capitol Square is Capitol Division. And to include the CVC. Okay. The Capitol Visitor Center.
Got it. Now going back to Protective Services
Bureau. Yes.
That's the 3rd Bureau, right? It's a separate bureau?
Yes.
At the same level as the other ones, right?
Correct.
That's the level of importance it has.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it's headed up by an assistant Capitol Police Chief?
Correct.
And you said 9 individuals, you think, 8 or 9 or so?
I think it's 9.
Are protected. So essentially for a layperson, what you describe them as being is the congressional leadership's own Secret Service detail.
You said it perfectly.
Right?
Yes.
So let's step through. Speaker of the House, you mentioned, is one position that receives that protection. Can you talk us through which President Pro Tem in the Senate, Senate Majority Leader, Senate Minority Leader, that's 3. What about when the Vice President comes in and becomes the President of the Senate? Do they fall under dignitary protection as well?
No.
Or do you completely delegate that out to the Secret Service?
That's Secret Service.
In chambers?
That's Secret Service.
So they don't, but don't they have to fall under and coordinate?
No, well, whenever anybody comes to, that's an executive position, executive branch position. So when they come in, we still put protection on them on that day when they're coming in, but it's not one of our regular assignments. We have
it's just a one-off whenever they're in the chambers, right? So that might be the 4th one, right?
I got to go back and look at all 9.
And then on the House side, like you said,
Speaker of the House,
Majority Leader, Minority Leader,
the Majority Whip, the Minority Whip. So that's 5. So
I think
that's 5 on the
Senate.
That's the 9 right there. Yeah, I think that's the 9. So 5 on the House and then 4 on the Senate. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with that for now. Yeah.
This is important to understand that those 9 individuals, whoever they are, right? The key ones I want to talk about is Speaker of the House, Senate Majority Leader, President of the Senate, right, or Pro Tem. Those are the key individuals that have their own separate protective detail.
Correct.
And they're U.S. Capitol Police officers inside of the Dignitary Protection Division.
Correct.
And you probably know all those people.
Yes.
Right? Because you spent 23 years.
Well, the turnover is so great now. They got so many new officers there now. I don't know a lot of the new
Well, let's go back to January 6th. Could you name off at least a couple of them that were regulars?
A couple of the officers?
Yeah.
I'll probably name some. I won't do it here on camera.
No, but I'm just saying, if you were asked, like, you'd be like, oh yeah, this person.
Yeah, I can say, for the most part.
That's the level of knowledge and understanding of the entire force you have compared to anyone else.
Well, I've been there a long time, and like I said, they had a lot of, because the threat levels went up, so they had a lot of new officers they hired and put on those teams. Like the guys who were there for 20, 30 years, I know those guys.
Right, and so those guys, back to what you said, when they travel. So not only are they protecting the leadership at the House and the Senate, or I should say the Capitol, because you were Capitol Division, so you was probably... What's that?
Yeah, I was
since you were Capitol Division, I'm just internalizing what we've discussed so far. You had to interact and liaise or coordinate, synchronize, deconflict when leadership was coming through, because you were also, right?
Well, not really. I didn't have to do that because leadership, they could bring their people. It's the Capitol, so they can walk in. They didn't have to announce when the speaker was coming in to me because they would tell their team members that the speaker was coming in if they were dropping them off, and then the agents would be down the stairs wherever they were going to be dropped off at, and the guy would walk them up. So, but they didn't have to coordinate that with me. They coordinated that with their team members.
Okay, but I think the biggest point here is though they spent a lot. These officers spend a lot of time with the leadership, both when they're working in DC and when they travel to their home district.
A hell of a lot of time together.
And at the home district.
Yes.
So they're literally damn near living with their protectee.
When I was an agent, because I was on the department for, like I said, 23 and a half years, 2 of those years for the most part, I was on the detail center after the anthrax attacks. So I spent a gazillion holidays during those couple years of eating my dinner at gas stations and grabbing, so everything was closed. So I would go grab burgers. It was a gas station that made hamburgers. So I would go there and go get something to eat. So I spent a lot of time.
So would it be fair to say, not specifically in your case, but would it be fair to say that any of these dignitary protection officers that have been in their position for quite some time, they know intimately their protectee, their family, their pattern of life, pretty much everything that they do?
100%. They're in the cars.
Phone calls.
They're in the cars. They witness the arguments between some of the members and their spouses. They're in the car. They hear everything.
They hear everything.
They hear everything.
Let me say that again. They hear everything.
They do.
So if there, for example, I'm not saying that there was or wasn't, say for example there was a transgression that may have taken place, those officers probably witnessed it.
Yes, and then they would probably
highly likely.
Well, I would say if that occurred, and it was something that was they felt uncomfortable with, or something that they believed that Capitol Police leadership needed to know, then they would probably call and speak to their officials, and the officials would send it up the chain if it was something like that.
Now, what if it was a transgression that was conducted and committed hypothetically by the protectee?
They would probably either keep it quiet or they would report it up to whoever was in charge of dignitary protection, probably their official, or maybe directly to the, whoever was the head of their unit, captain or lieutenant. It would all depend upon the agent.
Let's say hypothetically a Speaker of the House, I'm not naming names, just structurally, right? Organizationally. A Speaker of the House were to be disappointed in an officer that is protecting them. What could that Speaker of the House or Senate Majority Leader?
That Speaker would make a call to the police chief, and then probably the next day that officer would be back at the Capitol screening bags. He'd be out, or he'd be moved to another team. He'd be or placed on routine where if a visitor came, if like the Capitol. I don't know if you know this, but like whenever we have the physician's office there. So when the Supreme Court
attending physician,
yes. So when the Supreme Court members need to go, if they need to go to a doctor or whatever, they will come to the Capitol. So I assisted when I was an agent. When I was an agent, I was on routine for that day. I had to go get Clarence Thomas, and I had to take him to the attending physician's office. So they could have that routine officer just running Supreme Court members, Supreme Court justices to the physician's office. So if you had someone that was visiting somebody like from another state or head of state that was visiting the Speaker of the House, you would have, and he's going to have armed protection with them that whoever came to go visit the member, if he's a president of Ethiopia, and he came to visit the Capitol, he may have armed guards with him.
Right.
So you would have a Capitol Police dignitary protection agent be with them and do the escorts.
Also, the dignitary protection is not only for, so regularly it's with the 9. But then in addition to that, an additional duty would be if there's a head of state or, I guess, Speaker of the House equivalent from another country coming in.
Correct.
That would also fall under the jurisdiction of the Dignitary Protection Bureau.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then going back to what I was talking about, that if an officer has observed some transgression of his protectee that was maybe so egregious, does that also give that officer some leverage in keeping their job?
Of course.
In the event that that officer
made a mistake,
has made a mistake, or has committed a transgression themselves.
100%.
So let me go into a little bit more detail on that. So let's just say, can I use you as an example?
Use me.
Let's just say Tarek Johnson is observing a Speaker of the House doing a naughty thing. But Tarek Johnson also did a naughty thing. Let's just call both naughty things totally illegal, that everyone would deem to be illegal. Does anything happen to either of you in that situation?
How would it? I'm not going to tell them myself. The member of Congress is not going to tell them themselves. I'm not going to tell them the member of Congress because that member of Congress knows what I did, or vice versa. The member of Congress is not going to tell on me. If the member of Congress didn't witness my situation, but I witnessed, his or hers, and I say, hey, I messed up bad. I got a DUI last night. I need some help. Could that person go to the member of Congress and ask them for help? Of course.
Okay, so then, wait, a lot of people are going to watch this are going to ask the question, to include me. Wait, you're telling me that the DC Metro can't do anything about that?
Well, it depends
if these transgressions, illegalities occurred inside of the Capitol.
I mean, you say well, first of all, how would they know about it? Because you don't have any DC Metro Police officers patrolling the Capitol, so how would they ever know?
They're not there. What about the FBI? How come they can't investigate this?
FBI's not walking around out buildings with guns.
Wait, what about DHS?
Them either. So, Capitol Police is the primary law enforcement agency for Capitol Hill. Period.
So that makes my point. I mean, you know where I'm going.
I know exactly what you're doing.
So if you have, you name it, and I'm going to go into areas that maybe is a little uncomfortable. Let's just say you mentioned it first. So if there's a Capitol Police officer that commits an act that results in a death, and that Capitol Police officer has a little bit of knowledge of transgressions of those that would investigate that officer, internal affairs or something like that, right? You guys have a what?
Well, if it was a death in Washington, D.C., the metropolitan staff wouldn't be Capitol Police at all. Capitol Police may have a secondary role, but they wouldn't have a primary role.
What if the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader?
No, they can't do that. They can't do that. Yeah, if there was a murder or homicide on Capitol grounds, metropolitan is theirs. So even the Capitol Police or
the Speaker can't overrule that?
No.
Senate Majority Leader?
No.
You laid out the whole structure of the Capitol, the jurisdictional responsibility. You talked about the House building, the Senate buildings, the Capitol, the Library of Congress, etc., the daycare center even. A couple of things that I don't think anybody's ever discussed is, under what jurisdiction does the headquarters office of U.S. Capitol Police fall under?
Senate Division.
Senate Division?
Yeah.
And then what about the U.S. Capitol Police office that is just across the street from the DNC?
You talking about the Fairchild building?
Yes.
We don't. That's not included. We don't. We have offices in that building, but they have a security contract. That building, the Fairchild building, has a security contract with another agency.
Because that's where the training division is, right?
No, the Fairchild building is we have our HR there. We have
so the support, kind of the support staff.
It's the support staff there. Facilities is there. We have our badging office is there.
Okay.
But no, we don't police that building at all.
Okay. Now,
Patrol Division headquarters is there, but like I said, we don't police that. They have a guard at the gate, right at the door when you walk in, and he'll take the name of visitors as they walk in. They know Capitol Police when they have their badges. Right. But no, we don't police that.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, across the street is the DNC, and that is within U.S. Capitol Police Patrol.
They also have,
as well as the RNC.
They also have their own.
And the Capitol Hill Club.
We don't. Yeah, they have their own private.
Inside of the buildings. But what about outside the building?
I've seen private contractors standing outside of those buildings.
Is that within the U.S. Capitol Police's jurisdiction zone?
It is within the jurisdiction.
EJZ, extended jurisdiction.
Yes, 100%. Yes, but the primary, like I said, like that building, that's not ours. That's theirs. That's private contractors have that building.
Okay. So what I'm getting at, I did a video a couple weeks ago when I was out in the Capitol area, and the way I understand is that at the Capitol Hill Club and the RNC, which are adjacent buildings next to each other, just south of the Library of Congress, a little catty corner from Cannon Building. A lady identified what appeared to be a pipe bomb. Right by a dumpster in the back, kind of alleyway, and then she went to the guard shack, which is right back there. Some of these belong to alleyway, and reported that she saw a suspicious package. That then was reported to the head contractor for security at the RNC, a gentleman by the name of Ken Capolino, which you may know. He was a U.S. Capitol Police officer prior to becoming the head of security at the RNC.
No, I don't know him.
And he then called it in to, I believe, and there's an article about it out there, U.S. Capitol Police, because he said that he could have called either MPD or U.S. Capitol because it was a concurrent jurisdiction issue. But the reason why he called U.S. Capitol is because he knew who to call and he had been at U.S. Capitol before, so that was immediately called it in. If something like that occurs, what's the jurisdictional investigative path? So if U.S. Capitol Police officers are deployed to take a look at that, I'm talking solely on the RNC Capitol Hill Club component, because DNC is different since allegedly Kamala Harris was there, and that starts to bring in Secret Service assets as well because she was the vice president-elect. But if we just focus on the RNC component of it, can you step as much as you can in as much detail how that investigation would take place on a suspicious package?
Yeah, so whoever made the call, and they called Capitol Police is going to respond to that, and I'm pretty sure that they got there quickly, so when they responded there, if it's determined that, like, I don't know exactly where it was found, but if Metropolitan gets there and they arrive and they'll discuss who's the primary, and then if Metropolitan is deemed the primary because it's their area, so then they'll take the primary. Capitol Police is probably still hang around just because of where it's located at, but they'll make the decision who's a primary, and then they'll start working it. They can work it together. I wasn't on that unit, so I don't know exactly.
So asset-wise, do you feel that the MPD is more equipped to investigate something like that, or U.S. Capitol?
I haven't worked. I wasn't a bomb guy.
Okay.
So I don't know. I know our bomb. I'm a police officer, so I'm always going to think that. Yeah, they had a from what I could see, because like I said, well, I'm not even going to guess. I can't say because I don't want to say that the Capitol Police's bomb team, we have more resources because I don't know.
Well, you say, but U.S. Capitol has that capability.
100%.
MPD's got that capability.
To my knowledge, yes, because they had their own bomb team, yeah.
But then it begs the next question of, at what point did they start to engage the FBI and the ATF? could potentially start to come in to that. Do you know anything about it? I might be asking stuff that you may not.
I never really follow the, because I'll give my honest opinion. I don't think they ever want to find that pipe bomb guy.
Why do you think that?
Because if you find that pipe bomb, do you know what that would lead to if you find that guy?
Please.
So let's say for argument's sake, you find out that it was John Smith who had the pipe there. He lives in Roanoke, Virginia. You know, address is XXXX 55 Avenue. So they find that guy. Hey, I'm the it was me. First of all, you know how many years in jail that guy's gonna get? So that's number one. Number two, he's gonna have information. He's gonna be able to tell you who had him do that or deliver that pipe bomb there. It's gonna lead to some awful revelations. So no, that pipe guy, if he's still alive,
you don't think even with FBI Director Kash Patel and incoming now FBI Director Dan Bongino,
I think that guy will never be found. So I'm just giving my opinion. So now they're gonna find that guy tomorrow, right? But because I said that.
But a lot of people,
I don't think they're ever going to find that guy.
A lot of people on X say that I was a pipe bomber.
This is the first time I'm hearing somebody. Really? Somebody really said you're
just some idiot account.
Yeah, because that pipe bomb was tall. He was tall, wasn't he?
No, he's actually when they put. Funny you say that. So they put it out. The FBI when they came out with their investigation, the second one in December, 5'7". So I'm 5'7". Interesting. No, I mean at the end of the day, I would like to know who the pipe bomber was for personal reasons, because once they identify who it is, then I'm fully exonerated with anybody that thinks that it's me.
I don't think you're the pipe bomber. I don't think they ever want to. I don't think they ever. And I'll go on record. I'll give my opinion. I hate giving my opinion.
I wasn't there that night.
I don't think I was at anybody. We're never going to find out who the pipe bomber is.
For full disclosure, I was at Freedom Plaza in the VIP tent at the same time that they had the video of him walking around.
Yeah, so I'm sure.
Well, I don't know. Maybe a girl, right? Maybe.
I think if you were the pipe bomber, they would have found out already.
That would have been pretty.
There's probably people out there
split.
There's people out there who want you to be the pipe bomber, so they can say, we got that.
So they can roll me up.
We got this bastard.
Luckily, I wasn't. Yeah, they wanted me everywhere. They wanted me in the Capitol. They wanted me everywhere. They didn't try to get me on anything. Luckily, I had to urinate that day. I couldn't get anywhere near anything nefarious.
They're never going to find that guy. He leads to too many revelations that people probably don't want.
So I take that as a challenge, personally.
If you
make sure that you are wrong.
If you find them, I owe you dinner.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll buy.
No.
You celebrate.
Well, actually, no, you could buy it because you're gonna probably be rich if you find the pipe bomb. Is there a reward out for the pipe bomb?
I think it's 500,000. No, 5 million.
Yeah, you buy me 5 million. You find the pipe bomb, I'm taking the dinner.
We get more than dinner.
$5 million. I might start looking for that guy.
Yeah, I should do that.
Hey, I didn't know it's $5 million, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I should be motivated by money more. Yeah, I might start looking into them. No, I've been kind of looking, snooping around. More than most. All right, so back to the situation at hand here. So you don't know much about who responded to within the force? Because, I mean, you guys talked a little bit, right, internally?
No. I know some people who responded. I'm not going to put their names out. And I talked to some of the people or some people that were connected to those people. So I know some people who responded. I think they were more concerned about what was happening. I guess I think they could have figured out what was happening when, as far as that when you find a pipe bomb, when you find a bomb or any improvised explosive device, it's going to pull resources to that area. So I think they were concerned, and then they knew what was going on at the Capitol. So I think that they were concerned that those devices were used as tools to pull resources away from the Capitol.
That's exactly what Ken Capolino, the head of RC Security, said. It was
that's what they were. I think that's what they were feeling. That's what they were thinking. So I did.
Was it quite a bit of resources that were deployed?
Yeah. You're not going to send 2 officers for a bomb, you're going to send a bunch of people to each one. And
so, what impact do you think that had?
Oh, we had less people at the Capitol. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference anyway for the resources they pulled, because I was there that day and there was way more people than we could have handled there anyway. So, just losing more people didn't help us, but but I think that was the intended purpose to pull resources away from the Capitol. I believed that then 4 years ago. I believe that now.
And that made the Capitol more vulnerable, susceptible for.
I think the Capitol was vulnerable when you had two high-ranking commanders who withheld intel from Chief Stevens' son. That made it impossible to give the Capitol the protection that it needed on that day.
Who were the two?
Well, we know that one was I knew early on Yogananda Pittman had intel that was going to basically occur that day. And then I found out later that Sean Gallagher had the same information, and neither one of them disclosed that information to Chief Stevens' son when he was trying to articulate the need for the National Guard to Paul Irving, who was the House Sergeant at Arms, and then Michael Stenger, who was the Senate Sergeant at Arms. And they both told him he couldn't articulate the need of the National Guard being there because the evidence or the intelligence that he had didn't support the National Guard needed to be on Capitol Hill. So Pittman and Gallagher had it the entire time. And Pittman was she was the assistant chief of the Protective Services Bureau at that time, and Sean Gallagher was her deputy. They had the information that got filtered to them, and they were supposed to give it to, at the very least, Stevens' son, and they should have given it also to Chad Thomas, who was the chief of the Operations Bureau, and they never made it to him.
Wow, there's some names that I think at this point, if anybody's been following your work, everyone knows who Yogananda Pittman is.
I think everybody knows who Yogananda Pittman is.
I think they got it seared in their brain.
Yeah. Sean Gallagher,
they're starting to learn a little bit more about. And then Chad Thomas, that's somebody, that's a name that doesn't really come up too often. But let's just kind of think this through, hypothetically. The intel comes out. What does Chad Thomas, the head of Operations Division, do with that intel? Should he have it?
When he looks at that information, he's going to look at that information and say, wow, this is going to happen. So he's going to talk to Chief Stevens' son, and they're going to say, well, do we have enough protection here? Should we cancel days off for officers? Do we need to bring in more officers? Do we need the National Guard? You're going to look at that intel to see if we have enough resources to protect the Capitol, because the Operations Bureau guy, his job is to protect the Capitol. That's his job. That's with the chief, of course. The Protective Services Bureau lets the Operations Bureau guy know that this is what you need to protect the Capitol from. And then the operations guy says, okay, and this is how I want to do it. So he's going to establish the plan. He's going to create the plan to protect the Capitol. And had they had the intel leading up to January 6th that was in possession of Yogananda Pittman and Sean Gallagher, they would have altered their plan to have more people there. They would have altered their plan to, they would have been able to articulate the need to Paul Irving and to Senate, to the, who was the House Sergeant at Arms, and Michael Stenger, who was the Senate Sergeant at Arms. They could have articulated the need to have the actual National Guard on site. So they would have had what they needed.
Perfect explanation. So using military terminology that I'm familiar with, at the operational level, if you will, / tactical level, Chad Thomas could have said, all right, this intel now justifies me calling in more people to get them off of the COVID telework, right?
Yes.
Up to the Capitol.
Correct.
Without any approval up the chain of command, because that's well within his authority to do so, right?
The officers that are employed by the Capitol Police.
By the Capitol Police, internally, that's what I'm talking about.
Internally, that's correct.
That would have created additional support for protecting and defending the Capitol from any potential demonstrations getting out of hand, right?
Correct. With
that intel. And then secondarily, and you said this, I'm just kind of reiterating, secondarily, at the strategic level, meaning externally, interagency, etc., that intel report would have then allowed Chief Son to then present to the sergeants at arms for a seventh time, I don't know how many times, to say, hey, we got this now. I'm going to need additional support, even with what Chad Thomas is bringing in with U.S. Capitol Police officers that we have internally. We're going to need external executive branch assets to augment our current capability due to the number of individuals and the threat reporting that we're getting in.
That is correct. And I even heard
DC National Guard.
Yes, and you may know more about this than you may know more about this than I do. But I heard later on that President Trump at the time he was going to give 10,000 National Guard members to the Capitol Police so we can have that.
Yeah, that's coming from President Trump. That's coming from Kash Patel, who was the chief of staff for the former acting Secretary of Defense, Chris Miller. That's coming from Chris Miller himself in public testimony. I've spoken, right? I've spoken with Chris Miller about this. So, what has occurred to those two officers, Pittman and Gallagher, for failing to provide that intelligence to Chad Thomas and Chief Son?
They were promoted after their failures. I mean, simply,
would you call it a failure, or was it something worse?
It was a failure, but it was an intentional failure in my position, in my opinion. I think it was absolutely a failure because they failed to give Chief Son the intelligence. Now, anybody can make their own decision if it was an accidental failure or if it was an intentional failure.
How would we find out? How would you, if you were running an investigation to determine culpability, how would you identify intent, that it was an intentional failure?
You would probably have to have them testify to them not giving the intel to Chief Son, and nobody's done that yet. Like Pittman, her last testimony, she discussed the intel, and she said that she did give the intel to all her deputies, all the Operations Bureau commander. She stated she did, and she didn't, and she never went and corrected the record. So her testimony, in my opinion, was false, untrue, whatever you want to say. She could say I misspoke, but she never corrected the record. She didn't give it to anybody, but she said that she gave it and pushed it out, and she did not.
Would you think it would be appropriate if, I'm trying to think of which committee, or maybe the Speaker, would the Speaker of the House or the Senate Majority Leader and or both then draft up a criminal referral for that perjury and send it over to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia?
I think that should happen.
So then it would sound something like Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, in a joint criminal referral with the Senate Majority Leader John Thune, sending over that the perjury occurred in the House or the Senate with the testimony.
I think that was a House. I think that was her House.
Actually, that's a good distinction. So if it was in the House, then the Speaker of the House would exert his authority that the perjury occurred in his chambers, and then send a criminal referral over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is currently headed by Ed Martin in the District of Columbia. And then from there, that then can be used to prosecute in a similar fashion that occurred to Peter Navarro, Roger Stone. Because that's essentially the same thing that happened to Roger Stone.
Ivan, so what you probably don't know about me is I'm a great guy. I'm a great guy. And I think most of the world, they may already know that already. But I would be okay of her having to testify again in public to ask her, did you give that information to Chief Son? Did you give that information to Chad Thomas? Did you have that information?
And then bring in Chad Thomas to testify, because I don't think he's ever testified.
No, he has not. You bring in Chad Thomas, you have him testify, ask him if he received it. You had deputy chiefs too that would have had to get that information. Jeffrey Pickett, Eric Waldo. Can't even think of all the deputy chiefs right now, but you had other chiefs that were working there who she said she gave that information to.
And then her subordinates, I guess, were the ones that put together that intel report, right?
Correct. It came out of her shop.
Julie Farnham, I think.
Julie Farm would have had that, did she? But I think that they pushed it up and told Pittman and Gallagher everything. And then nothing leaves that bureau unless Pittman approves it. Like, they can't just start sending stuff out. So, like, the intel people knew what happened, right? So, and they pushed it up. They can't just start sending the chief emails directly.
Right, because it has to go with follow the chain of command.
So
that makes sense.
Pittman and Gallagher are going to get it. Pittman can make the argument that I would have had Gallagher do it. Gallagher could have said Pittman, but it would have been one of those two. So nothing would have left the Protective Service Bureau out of the intel section without one of those two approvals from one of those two people. It would have had to be either Pittman or Sean Gallagher.
So those two were promoted
after January 6th.
So Pittman became the acting police chief after Chief Stevenson was told to resign.
Acting chief, and then Gallagher was assistant.
Okay.
He was acting assistant chief.
What happened to those that did not receive the intel?
Son was immediately fired, and apparently I heard that. Now this is what I heard. I heard that Chad Thomas came into the building one day, and he was driving his car, parked. He was coming in, and they had some people, officers, meet him at the door, and they took his badge, and because he had a department vehicle, and they drove him home. So basically, they fired him. And then when he came to retire, right, because he had over 25 years, right, Capitol Police said, no, you're not retiring. He was like, what? I can retire. And the Capitol Police says, well, you can retire, but we don't have to process it, because to retire from a federal agency, even if you meet all the requirements, the federal agency that you work for, they have to process it. So Chad Thomas was under that age. So if you're 50 years old, anything under 57, your agency has to process your retirement. And the Capitol Police said, we're not going to process it. What are you going to do? You can't go to OPM.
The Capitol Police is not going to process it.
They're not going to process
names?
it. Huh?
Of who said that?
It would be, as far as who said that they wouldn't process it.
Chad Thomas.
I heard it was the general counsel for the Capitol Police, and his name is Tad DeBias. So I heard
Thomas Aquinas DeBias.
That's how you. That's
DIBIASE.
Yeah, I called him Tad. So I heard it was.
He goes by Tad. Yeah,
he goes by Tad. So I heard it was him, and he broke it down to Chad Thomas. That hey, listen.
Is this the first time you're saying this publicly?
Yeah. I think this is the first time I said this publicly. I don't remember saying it before, but I'm saying
it now. Take note, folks that are listening.
So I was
say that again.
So, and I'll say it again. So Tad Thomas, I'm hearing Tad DeBias broke it down and said, listen, we're not going to. I said I wasn't in the room, so I can only go by what I heard. So,
but a very credible source told you this.
Pretty damn credible. Yeah. So, and it was not Chad Thomas. So if Chad Thomas was forced to sign the NDA, he did not break it, because I have not had any conversation with Chad Thomas. So anyway, so getting back to
I interrupted. Say that part again. NDA what?
I said if Chad Thomas, and I heard that he was forced to sign the NDA, but let me get to that part, so I'm skipping over this. So this is what I'm hearing. So after Tad DeBias broke it down to him, said, listen, we're not going to process your retirement. And then Chad Thomas was like, I met my requirement. I did my 25 years. I had my 20. I got everything. So you have to process my retirement. And it was like, we don't. How are you going to make us process it? Because this is the thing. Now, you can have your OPM do it, right? But they won't even talk to you until you're 57.
Right.
So then you get nothing until for those years that you got to wait. You got to wait. So your agency has to process it, right? And so what I'm hearing, Tad said, no, we're not going to process your retirement, right? So then Chad was trying to make the argument, you have to do it. And then he says, oh, I can sue. And then he says, you can sue, and you'll probably win. But you're going to have to spend about $200,000 to do it, and it may take you years. Or you can sign this NDA, and you won't speak about the events of January 6th, and then we'll go ahead and process your retirement. And I heard he folded. He signed that NDA. So he can't speak about the events of January 6th unless he's subpoenaed.
As per Tad DeBias.
That's what I heard. It was Tad DeBias who led this.
To recap this segment of the interview, the two individuals that committed at a minimum an intelligence failure possibly an intentional intelligence failure, deliberate, promoted. Those two that should have received the intel to then act on it to protect the Capitol, they were administratively weaponized against by those same people that threw them under the bus.
You could call it that, or you could call it that they were screwed.
Yeah.
I like the latter.
And the other people that were in the operations division, if you will, was you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, how can you help it?
Chief Son was in the operations, he was the chief, but also was the one that
You guys can help me.
Even if they were told by their leaders to not defend the Capitol, it would have been a very precarious or kind of difficult position to defend when the chief of Capitol Police is saying, hey, I got this, so if you refuse external support, you're now going to be on the hook.
You said it perfectly.
Okay. So I understood it.
Yeah.
Now, which begs the question, who is promoting Sean Gallagher and Yogananda Pittman? Because, and at the same time, who is the one firing or resigning?
Well,
Chief Son.
I heard
you addressed Chad Thomas and how that played out. What about those three?
Now,
Son, Pittman, Gallagher.
So from my vantage point and from everything that I heard, it was Pelosi who called for Son's resignation.
Right. And
he gave his resignation. And it was the police board, and this is the funny thing too, and you and I were at this committee hearing. And that's funny, you haven't talked about this, you need to talk about this more, right? So we were at the committee hearing, and we were sitting next to each other. I want to talk about it right now, right? So when we were there, this is 2023, I think it was. Anyway, so we had the committee hearing, right? And then they announced that it was Paul Irving who signed off on Yogananda Pittman to be chief of the Capitol Police, acting chief of the Capitol Police, and he signed that January the 8th, right? But he gave his resignation as a sergeant at arms on January the 7th.
Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to submit for the record a bulletin from the Capitol Police Board dated January 8th, 2021, appointing Ms. Yogananda Pittman as acting chief of police, signed by Ms. Jennifer Hemingway, acting chairman of the police board, Paul Irving, member of the police board, and Brent Branton, member of the Capitol Police Board. I also request unanimous consent to submit for the record the testimony of Paul Irving dated February 23, 2021 to the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs, where he testified that he resigned his position effective January 7th. He resigned as House Sergeant at Arms effective January 7th, 2021, a day before he signed the appointment of Ms. Yogananda Pittman. Without objection. Thank you. I yield back.
So how can he sign off on Yogananda Pittman becoming chief on the 8th when he resigned on the 7th?
It's a totally illegitimate maneuver.
And everything that,
just like the 2020 election was.
And everything that, I'm not touching that either. So, and everything that Yogananda Pittman, any NDA she forced anybody to sign should be null and void, because technically she wasn't chief.
So wait, you said any NDA that she forced other people to sign?
NDA she forced any officer.
Well, we haven't talked about her having people do NDAs. You talked about how Tad Tobias, you heard, forced the NDA upon Mr. Chad Thomas.
That's what I heard.
Well, you're saying Yogananda Pittman also did that style of coercion?
I think if Chad, because when Chad Thomas signed the NDA, it was after January the 8th. So that was under Yogananda Pittman's, she was the chief at the time.
It was Yogi Pittman along with Tad Tobias.
It would have been
Yogi and Tad working together.
It would have been, yes. Pittman was in charge. Pittman didn't even have to be in the room. It could have just been Tad, but Pittman.
So Tad Tobias, the General Counsel of the U.S. Capitol Police. The General Counsel of the U.S. Capitol Police, meaning the senior lawyer at the department known as the U.S. Capitol Police lawyer, the one that does all document signing and legal advice, right, on behalf of the department.
No, he works for the chief.
Legal. I'm saying legal advice.
Yes. Correct.
To the chief.
He works for the chief.
Department.
He works for his boss is the chief of police.
Okay.
So nothing. He can't do anything without the approval of the chief of police. Let's say, for argument's sake,
approval or permission, basically, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Pittman had to sign off on that NDA for Chad Thomas. Pittman had to say, yes, this is what we're going to do. It might not have been. Now, if you know Yogananda Pittman, she's not very smart, right?
I've heard from other folks. So I'm going to say this out here publicly. So after January 6th, the D.C. National Guard came in. The commander of that D.C. National Guard element was, I don't know if I even told you this. Maybe I had. It was a Maryland National Guard colonel, gentleman that I served with, and I believe we deployed together to Afghanistan. I won't quote him, but I'm going to say, I interpret it as such. She has not the highest IQ. And she has a very innate inability to articulate her thoughts and motivate other people to do so, as evidenced by the, I believe, 96% disapproval rating of her, or maybe not, no, it was 92% disapproval rating of her, of a poll that was done by the, was it U.S. Capitol Police Officers Association?
Yes, the union.
On their confidence in her leadership. 92% of the U.S. Capitol Police officers that were polled had no faith in her leadership.
Correct.
Or lost faith. I don't know the exact words, but lost faith. Is that?
Yeah, you had never told me about that, what somebody had said about her IQ. I never heard that before, so this is the first time, but I'm not shocked because she never struck
me. You know how
people
use a phrase, dumber than a box of rocks?
Yeah.
I mean, she can speak, so I mean, she's a functioning human.
Yeah.
But in terms of...
And there are functioning alcoholics out there too. But
right.
And alcoholics.
To me, what really frames my understanding of her professionalism is when 92% of those that you're supposed to lead view you as an incompetent buffoon. That's very telling.
I think that the officers were mad, because some of the people who got raided in that didn't deserve that, because the officers went on that all of those high-ranking commanders had the intel, but Pittman never corrected the record and say some of the people who got bad ratings on that review they actually didn't have the intel. They said I rated poorly too. Like I can't remember the names on there. I know some of them, but I won't go into the names. But some of them did not have the intel, but they can't go out and say, "Hey, I never had the intel," because you're not going to go out there and say Yogananda Pittman didn't tell you the whole story, because you're going to be in Alaska hugging Eskimos, and that's going to be your job. You're going to be in Alaska hugging Eskimos and and building igloos. So you're not going to talk about Yogananda Pittman in public. So you have to just suck it up.
All right. So we've been talking quite a few names. In preparation for our interview, I went through a list of names that I wanted to address during the interview. We've actually covered quite a few of them. We've addressed Stevenson, Yogananda Pittman, Chad Thomas. J.J. Pickett, you mentioned him. What's his full first name you mentioned?
Jeffrey Pickett.
Jeffrey Pickett. What role did he play and what position was he in?
He was
in January 6th.
He was a chief over in training, so he wasn't even none of the January 6th stuff was on him at all.
No. And what about Chuck Young, Ted Bias? Another name that has crossed my path and while I've been investigating and researching January 6th is a lady by the name of Dania Newell.
Yeah, I have a lot of feelings about Dania Newell.
Yeah, what?
Yes, I have a lot of feelings about Dania Newell. And I talked about her.
Why not? Because she is refusing to let me see her. Have you attempted to get your children from this couch? Yes. Have you called the police for their assistance? Yes. What happened when the police got involved? That she slammed the door in their face, denies them, and just tells them no.
I just want my kids to be safe. That's all.
She has withheld the children, that she failed to comply with the order of...
But there's reason, sir.
Excuse me?
There's reason.
Okay.
Valid reason.
Okay, ma'am, you're done. You don't have time to to speak at this point. Okay, you've had a chance to testify, you had a chance to do a final argument, so you're done. So, ma'am, unfortunately, you leave me no choice, but the court will sentence you to 30 days in jail with the Calhoun County Sheriff. The court will further remand you to the care of the Calhoun County Sheriff, where you will remain until such time as the children are turned over to the plaintiff and until such time as you pay the previously ordered attorney fees of $1,000. So, ma'am, you can go with the sheriff, and
Are you serious?
this matter is concluded. You're free to go.
Who's sucking whose dick around here?
Oh,
No,
ma'am,
seriously.
another 30 days for contempt of court. You're in jail for 60 days now.
No, what's going on?
If you keep going, I can go as long as you want, ma'am.
A little bit, but I realized something.
What position did she hold?
She was I think her position, she was in charge of the CDU squad.
You're free to go.
She was in charge of the civil disturbance unit. She was in charge of that unit.
And that's inside of Operations Division?
That is under operations, correct.
CDU squad, and what is their mission and role and responsibility?
If there is a civil disturbance, demonstration, her job is to handle that with her officers under her charge.
Okay.
Yeah, and to make sure that they have the proper equipment, riot gear, shields, helmets, and everything. She's going to make sure that they have everything that they need.
And so she would have been the one responsible in making the decision on, I think it was a day or a couple days prior to January 6th, where everyone was told to switch out their helmet, the riot gear. Is that? I remember vaguely researching something.
So, and it's funny because I did this.
I think you mentioned.
I mentioned that, yeah. So what occurred was, so I get an email from my captain who didn't have any, but he told me I had to start getting the Capital Division officers. So this wouldn't be the near new. We'll talk. I plan on talking about the near new great at length at some point in time.
Let's start now.
Yeah. But there's
Let's give us a nice quick overview.
Let me give you another helmet. Okay, so I give you an email,
and we need to get
it says,
better.
have officers bring me their helmets, right? So this is not my job, right? I'm in charge of routine operations, and that's what I was going to be doing on that day. I was a lieutenant working day work at that time because the CDC was closed, right? Because of COVID.
Right.
So I'm like, why are they having me bring their helmets? But my captain told me to do something, so I'm gonna follow orders, right? So the mechanism typically is that you would take your helmet, because the helmets were expired, right?
Right.
So you would take your helmets and you would take them over to property, and then you would go get another one, which is across the street. So, but they just wanted
what's the name of that building again?
That's at the
right across the DNC, right?
It's no. But we would get. They could do it over at the Fairchild, because I think that they did do it. They did give certain equipment at the Fairchild, so it could have been done at the Fairchild, or it could have been done at the property building at I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember the name of the building, but anyway,
they typically had a great patrol.
Never would a equipment exchange occur from a lieutenant at the Capitol. So they told me to get the helmets, right? Just take them off. But they didn't tell me to issue out any new helmets. They didn't give me any instructions to tell the officers where to get new helmets. So later on, I figured it out. They just didn't want those officers to have those helmets on January 6th.
What day was that email?
That was maybe 7 to 10 days before January 6th. And it was after Pittman and Gallagher had the intel about what was going to happen on January 6th. So it was after that.
Whoa, say that again.
Okay, so now.
Slow down.
Okay.
And clearly.
Okay.
Say that again.
So the email from me to collect all the helmets from the Capital Division officers was maybe 7 to 10 days before January 6th. But it was after, I think it was December the 20th of 2020, when Pittman and Gallagher had that intel of what was going to happen. And the report was 21 TD 159. And it basically laid out what was going to occur at the Capitol. So Pittman and Gallagher had that intel, which they never gave to Son or Chad Thomas. So it was between that. So
who sent the email?
Okay, my captain sent me the email, right? But I don't know who had him send me the email. I know my captain at the time had nothing to do with that. So, but somebody had him do it.
Psychopath projection.
I don't know who that guy or person.
Best case scenario, if everyone was talking to each other professionally, right, and we're getting to this, the intel report would come out.
Mm-hmm.
Operational leaders, Chad Thomas, Chief Son, Chad Thomas, and then would have trickled down to, lower level operational leaders like yourself, would have seen that report, and you would have said, wait, I'm turning in riot gear and helmets, but the threat is actually going to be a little high. How about I got one for you? Yeah. We keep them unless you have something better to protect us, right?
Okay, so now this is my thing. Okay, so
then
I think we had new helmets. They just didn't issue out. I will have to go ask some of my sources. And I do have some I can ask that question.
It'd be nice to find out which individual sent out the order
email to
turning
keep the
helmets.
Yes.
And then whether or not who they communicated with in the time frame from the Intel TD 159 coming out.
Yes.
If they received that report,
correct,
and read that report,
yes.
Now it's getting into malicious of there's something weird going on here.
And you know why they would have done it? Okay, so now this is the thing. Those helmets were expired, so that's why they wanted to take me to take the helmets. So now, let's say for argument's sake, it's going to be Armageddon on Capitol grounds on January 6th.
Right.
If an officer gets hurt, right, with an expired helmet on, the Capitol Police will be liable for that. But if you take the helmet and he just gets hit over the head, he doesn't have a helmet. When we took the helmets back, we didn't know anything was going to happen that day. And we take the helmet. So it's the liability for the Capitol Police is lower if you take the helmet versus letting the officer get hurt with an expired helmet on. But if you ask me, TK Johnson is going to want to have the expired helmet on because if I get hit in the head with something, I'm safer with that expired helmet on than having no helmet. But the liability is off the department if you take the helmets. Because what you don't want is Armageddon is happening outside and officers run and grab their expired helmets and they put them on and they get hurt.
From personal experience, a bald man like myself, if I were to even have a hat, I would prefer to have a hat on than no hat at all.
Correct.
As I headbutt a corner of a shelf.
Yes.
Because if my hat is on, it's going to hurt, but it's not going to shred my entire scalp off.
Correct.
Without my hat, you're going to see a nice laceration throughout the entire scalp. I would much rather have a expired to the tune of 200 years.
100 years. That helmet.
Than no helmet at all.
That helmet could have been created in 1776. Christopher Columbus could have brought that helmet over on the meaning of the penny. I would have wore that helmet regardless than having no helmet at all. But you can't
agree?
Yes. But you don't want the officers running back to they hear everything's going on outside and they go to their lockers and they grab an expired helmet and put it on.
Yeah.
So I think that somebody was looking out for the liability of the department and they didn't care what happened to that officer.
You think liability and risk rests with usually the general counsel? They would have to have a little bit of role in the decision making. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
And that his name is
Tad DeBias. Well, you said his name.
So Thomas Aquinas DeBias is his full name, and he does live in Washington D.C. And that would fall under potentially jurisdiction of U.S. Attorney Ed Martin, if he's listening.
I don't know. I don't think he follows me.
So let's go back. So Dania Newell, he still didn't finish about her. You want to say something.
I do. I got a lot to say. But now I'm gonna say a little bit about Dania Newell. But I want to go back to this. So I've been doing this fighting for justice for I'm in my third year now, right? And I realized what's most effective, right, is to focus. Because when I first came out, I was talking about Dania, I was talking about Pittman, then I was talking about Gallagher, then Manger, then Julie Farnham. So I'm all over the place, right?
No, we're wrapping it up in a bonnet here.
But the thing is, so me doing that, right? So people don't know who to focus on, right? So I was like, my job, right, is to help them focus, right? And the priority priority right now is the modern day Lex Luthor, and that's Sean Gallagher. That's the focus right now, and I'm not trying to take my focus off of him.
Okay.
He is and I'm telling you, this guy is the modern day Lex Luthor. This guy can't get arrested. This guy can't be charged. This guy could commit felonies. This guy he stole money. He's committed forgery. There's nothing this guy can do.
Let's pause right there.
Mm-hmm.
And after the break, we'll talk in detail about
I love
Sean Gallagher.
I want to talk about Sean Gallagher.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back with TK Johnson, former, for now, lieutenant. I call him promotable. You're supposed to be promoted by now, right, to captain?
I think I would have made captain if I was still there.
TK Johnson. For those that don't know how to pronounce, it's pronounced Tarek Johnson.
Perfect.
Not Tariq. But he's too polite. It's Tarek. Yeah. So, tell us. Sean Gallagher.
Sean Gallagher.
Let's roll.
So,
Sean Gallagher.
So, like I said, he is the modern day Lex Luthor.
For those that don't know who Lex Luthor is,
come on, everybody has to know Lex Luthor.
What about your 15-year-old?
Everybody's seen Superman before, but I don't know of any 15-year-olds watching this though.
I got a son.
He's not gonna watch this interview. I promise you.
He was just trying to call
your
me.
son could give a damn about Sean Gallagher.
Oh, but guess what? His dad sure wants to know a little bit about Sean Gallagher.
Okay, so So just thinking about Sean Gallagher. So Steve Baker, who's an investigative reporter, he works at Blaze now.
Yeah.
And he wrote an incredible article now. And I want to get the credit for this because I put him in contact with the people to help them get the information for that article.
I figured.
Yeah, and I want Sean Gallagher to know it was me.
Say that louder.
It was me, Sean. You know. But anyway, so they wrote it. So they outlined Sean Gallagher stealing thousands of dollars and committing forgery, and to the point where he even used different colored ink pens when he committed his forgery. And he had people also, he was signing off on there so they could get the money as well.
So he's committing crimes left and right, financial, federal crimes, right? Felonies,
forgery, and nothing happened to him. So
it goes back to what we were saying, hypothetically, that if the head of dignitary protection, wasn't he Sean Gallagher?
He was a captain there at the time.
So Sean Gallagher, what years headed up dignitary protection?
He was a captain. So now this is the funny part.
So how this comes full circle.
Oh yeah. So
conversation.
So I think he was stealing the money from 2013 to 2015. I think that's the time period he was stealing the money. So they found out around 2015, right?
Who's they?
So it was a lady. Her name, she was a sergeant. Her name was Rhoda Henderson, and I can say her name because she didn't care about going on record, right? She found it, outlined it, and she retired first because you don't report Sean Gallagher and still think you want to work there, right? So she waited, filed her retirement papers,
right?
And then after she filed her retirement papers, then she went and turned everything in. I think she sent it to the U.S. Attorney's Office. I don't know. I know
this
she gave it to
2015.
By 2015, so I will have to go back. I'll have to call her and ask her.
Okay.
I don't know who she gave it to, but anyway, the Capitol Police was aware of it. Now they got to investigate now. So
now who would be doing the investigation?
He was a captain at the time, so it was. So if it's an inspector or above, the IG is going to do the investigation. If it's below an inspector, the Capitol Police, OPR, they're going to do the investigation.
Well, you said before, if it's a crime, then the MPD comes in and steps in. Or
the Capitol Police is still going to do an administrative investigation regardless. Okay. Now, what the chief of police can do, and I don't know, like I will have to go back and look. The chief of police can say, they can contact the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I think it's called a declination of non-prosecution. They can do that. So they said, listen, we know what this person did was a crime, right? The declination of, I think that's what it's called.
Declination of prosecution.
Yes. And they said that we can do that. Say, listen, we know what he did was a crime, but we want to take care of it and we don't want him prosecuted. So that can take him off the criminal, right? But the thing is,
who would make that recommendation?
The chief of police would make that recommendation.
And the chief, I mean, hypothetically again, as you're saying this to me for the first time, I'm thinking, the reason...
I never told you about this before?
No, I'm just saying that the reason or reasons why the chief of Capitol Police would decline to prosecute one of its fellow officers is because that fellow officer may have dirt on the Capitol Police chief themselves.
Correct. He could. Especially in the unit that Sean Gallagher was the captain of. Yeah, Sean Gallagher.
Dignitary protection.
He was a captain. I was there with him. He was my captain.
So he would know. So as the captain, if you're running that division, right?
Mm-hmm.
What access to information do you have? Just like
everything.
Give me some categories of everything.
If anything happens with any member of Congress, when he could be away, he could be in town, and the DPD agent is going to let Sean.
He knows everything about all 9 of those.
He knows everything about everybody
and their families
everything.
And all their dirt.
He knows
and so
everything.
He's got blackmail.
Sean Gallagher would have all the information, and the chief of police would know it. So
that makes him what I've heard people say is untouchable.
He's untouchable.
Yeah.
Sean Gallagher is untouchable.
I take that as a challenge.
You can take it as a challenge all you want. Sean Gallagher is still. After we finish, okay.
So now,
okay, before we started this interview, Sean Gallagher was untouchable. After we finish this interview, Sean Gallagher is still going to be untouchable. And me,
challenge accepted.
Now I will tell you this: I'm fighting it, and I'm battling Sean Gallagher right now. But I'm not trying to get like. And if you look at my tweets for the last couple of years, right, and I say specifically, I am not looking for accountability because that's not my decision. It's not for me to administer any accountability to anybody. I'm looking for justice. At the very least, people should make whole the people that Gallagher and Pittman hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe. I don't think that's wrong, you know. And then you do that, I stop. If they say, listen, all right, TK, we're gonna give us a list of everybody that Pittman and Gallagher hurt. It's gonna be a few thousand people, and then after they got their list, because they hurt, just like I said this before. So anybody that was on the grounds on J6, demonstrators, police officers, they were all hurt. Now this is the thing: Pittman and Gallagher won't say that they did anything wrong because if they, if let's say for argument's sake, this is what Sean Gallagher and Pittman did mess up, right? And now we got to fix the people that were made whole. You would think that's easy. What they would just say, all right, make everybody whole, right?
Right.
Especially your own police officers. But they can't do it because if they take responsibility and say we messed up on January 6th, that means they got to take responsibility for all the deaths, and that's what they don't want to take responsibility.
All the deaths.
Ashley Babbitt, all the other,
Roseanne
Boylan.
Benjamin Phillips.
Yes, Benjamin Phillips.
Kevin Greason. And then the following day,
and you forget
Brian Sicknick. The following day.
I say, now this is the argument that not you and I was on the scene when Brian Sicknick, immediately after he went down, I was on the scene. I was there. I was on the scene. I watched him. And if you listen to me on the radio that day, I talked all day on the radio. I couldn't even speak on the radio when I saw Brian go down.
I listened to the whole 5 hours and 40 minutes of it.
Yes.
I think it was.
And I was talking all day on the radio. So if anybody
you were the only leader exhibiting maximum confidence, textbook, calm communications the entire day.
I'm excellent at handling emergencies. I've always been that. So
that's what impressed me the most. Like when I listened to your radio comms, I told you this when we first started talking.
You did.
That impressed me.
Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate that. You know, coming from you, high level, military man. It makes me feel good. And I don't have any military experience.
Textbook.
But I am good in handling emergencies. I've had personal emergencies. I grew up in not a good area, and I had to deal with stuff. So God didn't give me many times, but He gave me the talent to handle emergencies. So anyway, so what did I leave off at?
Gallagher. Who did he hurt?
Okay, yeah. So now,
everyone that was
on Brian Sicknick, I was on Brian Sicknick. So I was on Brian Sicknick. So I was there. I watched him. His soul left his body. What January 6th?
What time was that?
It might have been around. It could have been. It was that evening. It was after everything had calmed down. The National Guard was there, and it might have been. It could have been 6 or 7 p.m.
But so here's what's confusing about Brian Sicknick. My research. I didn't know this. So you had firsthand.
I was right there. I was right there.
What people that invest, most of society still thinks, to include judges, to include juries in D.C., think that Brian Sicknick. They were told that Brian Sicknick was murdered by a fire extinguisher.
No,
basically.
yeah.
That's one option.
Yes.
For people like me that researched it without knowing that component of you knowing, we haven't talked about this Brian Sicknick component of it before. I read the coroner's report, and it says that he died of natural causes, and it was a blood clot in his brain.
Yes.
But it said nothing about any fire extinguisher. It said nothing about any things related to January 6th. That's from the coroner's report. Now, if you were to watch the news, it was all related to January 6th. But you saw him in person. Can you describe?
I was right there. And I was on my radio, and I couldn't even speak because I was watching him. He was gone on the 6th, no question about that. And I don't believe he was murdered by the demonstrator. The coroner already ruled that out, so he was not murdered by any. I think what happened to Brian Sicknick died. I think, the stress of that day affected him, but I believe that the person responsible for that, were Pittman and Gallagher. And that's what they don't want out. So I think
step us through. Like I follow your logic behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Step us in detail through for somebody that's just hearing for the first time. How do you connect you seeing him being checked out and describe what that means to you, being checked out, to then stepping it to putting blame to Pittman and Gallagher, who that day were. Pittman was the Protective Services
Bureau. Yeah, she was
Bureau
chief,
assistant captain police, and then the deputy was Sean Gallagher.
The deputy was Sean Gallagher.
Step us through that.
They had the intel. Had they given the information to Chief Son and Chad Thomas, Chief Son was running around trying to get National Guard days before January 6th. So had he had the intel, right? Let's say, for argument's sake, right? Because Pittman tried to, when she did her interview, right? Her testimony, she tried to downplay the intelligence, right? She can't, because she says that our posture would not have changed even if they had the intelligence. Is what she said. I don't know if you remember this. You should go back and look. Okay. So my question to her would be, how would you know? You're not operations. Right. Your job is so you can read the minds of Son and Chad Thomas. So
exactly.
Yeah. So she had to say that. She had to dumb down the importance of the intelligence, because if you raise the importance of the intelligence, now it's her fault.
Well, she can testify to whatever about those individuals that were just fired by her, because they don't have the ability to respond because one's under an NDA, right? Chad Thomas.
But throw that out the window. Yeah. I want you to follow me on this part. Really follow me on this part. She has to dumb down the importance of the intelligence, because she knows she didn't give it to anybody, right? So she could say, if we did have it, or if we didn't have, if they had the intelligence, it wouldn't have changed their posture. That you throw that out of the window.
You minimize its importance completely.
Because let's say it finds out later, then she could say, well, I already told you it wouldn't have changed our posture. She can't say that because, number one, she wasn't in operations. She's a Protective Services Bureau. She has very little. I don't know if Pittman had any operational field experience. So how can you say that it wouldn't have changed the posture of operations when you're the Protective Service Bureau commander? You can't say it. That's number one. Number two.
She does now, because she's over at Berkeley. And she saw what happened over there.
She's doing a great job over there at Berkeley, right? Yeah. So anyway, so stay with me on this one. Stay with me, because I don't want the audience to get distracted. Okay, so now, number two, this is the big one. Stephen's son was trying to get National Guard support, right? So let's say the intelligence is all bullshit. It's still something he can use, because he's trying to say, listen, I want the National Guard here. Now I got this report saying what's going to happen on January 6th. Now they got to look at the intelligence and say, well, we're still not going to give it to you. And then if something happens, now they're on the hook. So Pittman and Gallagher just don't give it to him so he can go ahead and use that. Because if you give him that, you give some more leverage to articulate the need of the National Guard. So you don't want to give him that. You saw him trying to get National Guard support.
And that's what leads to my theory that I've been explaining, is that
it was intentional. Yes, it was intentional.
So that January 6th could play out exactly how it played out.
Yes.
And all of us didn't know that at the time. Mm-hmm. But hindsight, looking, researching, that theory there's more and more evidence to support that theory.
Yes, and this is the thing. Somebody can make the argument.
But we need their communications.
Yes.
We need their emails.
You need everything.
We need the NDAs.
Yes.
We need everything. Everything that Tad Tobias has his name on needs to be released.
Everything.
Yesterday. Mike Johnson, John Thune need to order that.
The thing is this. Yeah. So
how
I got
possible
it. Now
is that?
Okay, okay. My goal, like I said, and I'll say it again, I'm not trying to embarrass any Congress members. I'm not looking for any accountability.
Let's just say, do you know stuff about members of Congress, generally speaking, that would be very embarrassing to them?
I didn't work. I worked for me particularly. I don't know. I know.
Do you know of people telling you stuff when they worked?
I don't. Yeah.
A shift.
Yes.
On dignity.
Yes, I do know that. Firsthand, no, because I wasn't.
But from them, people that you know and trust, like, hey,
yeah,
TK, man.
Yes.
Bro, this one time, I was traveling so and so.
I do.
This person, this member of Congress, this whatever.
I do.
Man.
Yes, I do.
Something
and
like
I
that.
know people. Yes, I do know people who told
More
me
than once.
Yeah. So and more.
Dozen.
But my thing is this: I have no. There's no benefit to me to try to hurt any member of Congress, and I'm not even saying things are illegal.
Right. Those are small. Those are
It
small.
could just
Like,
be embarrassing.
yeah, those are small issues.
Yes. The big thing is this. Like I said, and I'll say it again. I'm not fighting for accountability. I think that the people, you were hurt, I was hurt. The January 6th whistleblowers who haven't spoken out, they were hurt. I think people need to be fixed. You know, that's what I'm fighting for. You fix this, you fix the people that were hurt, I go away. You know, if you don't want to fix it, then I'm going to keep speaking out. That's just my position. That's what I'm going to do. I could care less. My job is not accountability.
I want that. I want what you want.
You want accountability.
With a little bit of cherry on top.
You want accountability. You know, and everybody's different. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
With the letter R.
Yeah, and yeah. Retribution, I know. Yeah, the Secretary of Retribution. I know who you are, yeah. But like I said, for me, I'm not that, like, because when it comes to retribution, accountability, whatever it is,
I just want punishment for wrongs committed.
So let me just okay. Listen, let me break this down to you.
Punishment.
I want to see if you can follow this, and I know you're intelligent, so you can, right?
In addition to restoring those that were injured.
When corruption is at a level 4, right? Who do you go for? Who do you go to for accountability and justice? You go to the 5, right?
Yeah.
Because he can administer it. Let's say corruption is at a level, and it's on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Let's say the corruption is on a scale of, let's say the scale of 1 to 10. The corruption is at a level 7. Who do you go for?
Yeah, you go to number 8.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, right?
Yeah.
If the corruption is at a level 10 and there's no 11, who do you go to for justice and accountability?
The people.
No one. And that's the issue we have here.
Right. Well, no. I get it. And the answer is no one.
The answer is no one. So now,
but I refuse to say something cannot be done.
No. Something can be done. So, and this is where I'm going. This is what
most people are going to agree with you and do nothing about it.
No.
That's why you're pushing.
I'm not saying I have to do anything for it.
That motivates me even more.
But let me
take on your challenges on Sean Gallagher.
Yes. Yeah. But so now this is what I'm trying to do, right? Okay. So
this is motivating me 11-fold.
The corruption.
You got a 10.
The corruption.
I'm going to mobilize the 11.
This is what I'm trying to explain to people. The corruption at the level of Sean Gallagher. He's a 10. It's a 10. So there's no 11 to go to. So what you can do, and it's not weak of me, right? So people can say, because I'm not a weak man. If you follow me for the last 2.5 years, you can say I'm not a weak man, right? But I'm also a smart man too, right? And I know that you could probably appeal to a Sean Gallagher because you do have to appeal to a Sean Gallagher. It is what it is, right? So you can say, hey, listen, if you don't, nobody's going to try to, I'm not necessarily trying to hold you accountable, but you did do something wrong and you know it. You can start to figure out a way to fix it. So I contacted the Capitol Police recently and I said, listen, so now, I don't know if you read that tweet that I sent yesterday, right? I sent the big tweet out yesterday, right?
I haven't read
okay,
it yet.
So you should, I forwarded it to you, right? I sent it out, right? And I'm not going to say who I contacted, right? But I got a friend within the Capitol Police, and I contacted that friend, and I asked him to contact another person within the Capitol Police to deliver a message that would ultimately land with Sean Gallagher, right? And that said, listen, that most of the damage that occurred from the whistleblowers, right, were as a direct result of Manger. So we can bury the hatchet, right? So, and I said that basically Gallagher has 48 hours to respond, right? So this is me talking to them, you know, so we figured out the date, you know, and he said, so the guy I'm talking to tells me, he says, give him a third day. I said, I'll give a third day. Gallagher's response to me was effectively, go fuck yourself. Because he believes
Elon Musk. You hear that?
So he has, and this is the thing, right? The answer is this: he's at a level 10. Mm-hmm. So my goal was to appeal to see if he would say, "Listen, all right, we already know that I've done some stuff here, but let me see if I can fix the people that were hurt." Now, if you fix the whistleblowers that were hurt, right, then you can begin to fix some of the because of the information they got hurt because they went to. I don't know if you know about all this, but let me go ahead and tell you. I know this interview is going way longer than we thought, but you guys need to hear this. Mm-hmm. So
I got all day.
There were multiple whistleblowers, right?
I'm detaining you.
Yeah, there were multiple whistleblowers that went to the IG of the Capitol Police after January 6th. Yeah. His name was Michael Bolton, right?
Yes.
So Michael Bolton, after they gave him the information, right, because they were reporting on high-level commanders, Pittman and Gallagher, Julie Farm, right? So after they went and reported the malfeasance, they said, listen, no. We hear what's going on in the news. We had the intelligence. We gave it to Farnham, Pittman, Gallagher. We gave it to them, right? So you know what happened to those people that went to Michael Bolton? Michael Bolton went and told Pittman that and Gallagher that these guys went and they're telling on you guys now, right? So, but these guys thinking that they were protected whistleblowers, right? And then Michael Bolton goes basically and says that you never asked for anonymity. But you don't have to ask for that, right? And then you bring in a Manger, and Manger says, hold. Let's kill all this. The Capitol Police aren't even under the Whistleblower Protection Act because we have our own policies and procedures that protect them. So that's when Manger came and they brought Manger in for that. Because Michael Bolton screwed those whistleblowers because they went and told them, and then Michael Bolton went and told Pittman that he resigned because he knew what he did was wrong, so and they were going to catch up to him at a certain point.
So these are all level 10 players.
We're at a 10. This corruption level is a level 10. There's no 11.
So the question is, so I went through this process, just like you're explaining right now, and I'm thinking to myself, who can hold these people accountable? And my analysis was we have to change the makeup of the House or the Senate so that we have a Speaker of the House and or Senate Majority Leader to be able to designate the appropriate chairs of the two oversight committees of the Capitol Police and the Capitol Police Board to then demand accountability. So that would have been Senate Rules and Admin on the Senate side and House Admin Subcommittee Oversight last Congress on the House side. Well, the only person or entity that was willing to play ball was Barry Loudermilk's subcommittee.
Correct.
Problem is when the Speaker of the House doesn't want the House Admin Subcommittee on Oversight to get to the full truth because that Speaker of the House used to be the House Minority Leader, one of the 9 that was protected by your Sean Gallagher, meaning Kevin McCarthy. And Kevin McCarthy is known to have transgressions in his past that likely Sean Gallagher knows about. You have the Speaker doesn't want Sean Gallagher to disclose those transgressions. And thus, the Speaker himself doesn't want Barry Loudermilk to start to dig into the transgressions of January 6th and Sean Gallagher, because Sean Gallagher is going to throw the Speaker under the bus. Is that a fair assessment? That's probably what is taking place and did take place?
That sounds fair to me.
And that's why I took it upon myself to start to amplify to make sure that we remove Kevin McCarthy. Luckily, we had Matt Gaetz to help out with that. And then put a Speaker of the House that potentially isn't leveraged by transgressions when he was a leadership position. Luckily, in that case, that's why they first wanted Steve Scalise, right? Dual leverage off of each other, right?
Did you forget something though?
And then we got to Mike Johnson. No, I'm still getting there. But the problem is that, go ahead. I don't want to go too far. I don't want you to forget.
So,
what am I forgetting?
You're forgetting that there are other members of Congress, so it cannot just be just one. And it doesn't necessarily have to be criminal. People don't want certain things out, period. I can tell you this. I was in the car, right? I'm going to tell you a story. I'm trying to think, should I tell this story? I'm going to tell this story, right? All right, so you remember,
lay it out there.
You remember speaking, without getting into specifics, right? So I'm riding in the vehicle, right? And I heard something. Then I was riding with them, and I'm like, wow, right? You know, so not illegal, you know, but I heard it, and I was like, wow, you know, but, you know, I'm doing my job. I'm not going to, you know, because now I'm riding in the car. So obviously I would have heard, like, I'm not going to go disclose things that I heard, right? But I can say that I heard things, you know, and I didn't hear it to the level of Dennis Harrison, but I heard, and I was like, wow, you know. So come on, so other people. So wow, I was only agent for 2 years because I got promoted quickly to sergeant. Right, I made sergeant on the first time I took it. So I wish I would have was an officer long because I could have done different things within the agency. But when you're a sergeant, you go wherever they tell you to go. Right. So you can't really pick where you want to go, right? So I heard what I heard, right? So I don't know necessarily, you know, because when you take that position, right, you know, they got to know that. And I would always do this. I would never, like, you could put me in on the stand, and I would never go back and say, I just wouldn't do it. It's just not who I am, you know, because if, you know, I'm supposed to keep quiet about something, you know, it's not necessarily illegal or moral or unethical, you know, it's not a criminal. I'm going to do my job, right? You know, so when you hire somebody,
just like an embarrassing, something embarrassing.
It could just be embarrassing, but it could be wow, you know. And I'm so
like a politically embarrassing wow that would have a negative impact on their political perspective.
It could be that people could view it differently. So the thing is this, you know, some of those things could have made it to Gallagher about there were 9 speakers, there were 9 positions of leadership, and a lot of that stuff could have made it to Gallagher. So now they just don't want it. As the chief of police would know too.
No, I'm saying,
yes, the Protective Services
Bureau, Dignitary Protection Division Chief.
Protective Service Bureau Commander.
Yeah, but underneath.
And that's Assistant Chief.
You said Sean Gallagher used to run Dignitary Protection.
Yeah. So now,
what years did he run that?
So I didn't get to finish telling you this story, right?
Okay. That's important.
Oh yeah. So yeah, because we got to stay on Sean Gallagher, right? Because he's the focus, right? Not Dania Newell, it's Sean Gallagher. Dania Newell, we'll get to her later, and I will get to her later. But when it comes to Sean Gallagher, right? Okay, so now Sean Gallagher steals the money, right? Investigations ensuing. He's not going to get prosecuted, so more than likely the chief did a declination of non-prosecution, and it was probably approved by the courts. They probably said, all right, you guys got it, because he stole the money.
What position did Sean Gallagher
hold? He was a captain.
For what?
In dignitary protection. He was a captain of dignitary protection.
Meaning he headed up.
He was one of the commanders in dignitary protection. He was not the top. He was the top guy, but he was one, right? The guy above him was Daniel Malloy, who was an inspector. The guy above him was Donald Rouillet. Okay, so that was...
Say that again?
Donald Rouillet was... Donald Rouillet. She was funny. It was, okay, so I forgot this one. Okay, so it was...
That's why I'm here. I'm probably the only one that can ask these questions.
It was Chad, it was Sean Gallagher was the captain. The inspector was Danny Malloy. The deputy chief was, I believe it was Chad Thomas. Heard his name again. He got promoted later on. And then the chief was Donald Rouillet. So that was the hierarchy right there.
That was the chain of command.
Yes, so that was the chain of command, right? and then you had the assistant chief, and then you had the chief of police, right? But that was the command of DPD, right? Dignitary protection. Sean Gallagher was the captain. Then you go to Danny Malloy. Then you go to Chad Thomas, who was the deputy, and then you go to Donald Rouillet. So that was the hierarchy, right? So the investigation ensues, and I believe it was Donald Rouillet. I believe he was the chief of the Protective Service Bureau. I believe I saw the report. I can't remember, but I see so many. I read so much stuff. People have sent to me, and I read a lot of stuff. Right? I think it was Donald Rouillet who recommended termination for Gallagher. Right? I think somebody came and superseded. They said, "You're not firing."
Who's that someone?
Who came and said that you're not firing?
Yeah. Was it a member of Congress?
I don't
Possibly.
know. I think somebody. I don't
Possibly.
I'm not even going to guess. It could have been the chief of police, and I think the chief of police at the time was Matthew Voderosa. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was Matthew Voderosa.
In the realm of possibility, could it have gone something like this? A member of Congress or a leadership within Congress
the chief
contacted the sergeant at arms for the sergeant at arms to then contact the chief for the chief to then so it would have been directly to the chief, and then the chief would have said like, nah, this ain't happening.
Okay, so the discipline would have come from the Capitol Police because Sean was a captain at the time. So the discipline would have went to the board, the police board, which was made up of the architect, the Senate Sergeant at Arms, the House Sergeant at Arms. They would have recommended termination. Then a member of Congress could have saw what was about to happen to Sean and went and told the board, "You're not going to fire Sean Gallagher. Give me something else," right? So then you go back down and say, "Listen, we're not firing Sean Gallagher. You're not going to fire Sean Gallagher. We will not fire Sean Gallagher." And if they say you will not fire Sean Gallagher, you're not going to fire Sean Gallagher. The chief can't even.
All right.
Yeah. So the chief.
Pivotal question.
Go for it.
At what point, as an officer within the U.S. Capitol Police, do you receive a Capitol Police
I still haven't told you the good stuff
issued phone?
You said at what level?
Yeah.
Sergeant. But now they give it to all the officers now too. They give all.
Sean Gallagher has had for numerous years an official device, as well as probably an official computer.
Yeah.
A government issued computer,
of course,
phone, maybe an iPad.
Of course, they had all that. Yeah, not an iPad. They didn't make iPads back then.
But I mean, like currently, maybe, right? Would it be nice? And it's issued to the individual officer, right?
It is.
Property book has all that.
That's correct.
You can go back and look and take a look. Property book, which devices he's had.
Correct.
And then Doge can go in and take a look, right? Elon's team. And kind of look through it and using a little bit of AI determine what transgressions are on those devices.
I don't know. Can Doge come in the Congress and that particular branch and do that in the legislative?
If Elon and President Trump say, "Hey, Mike Johnson, you need to let us do this,"
I don't think so. I said because if Mike Johnson doesn't want to investigate January 6th, they wouldn't let them come in there and Doge the Capitol Police. But you don't.
What if Elon Musk says, "Hey, Mike Johnson, see this? I own Twitter, and I have just as much evidence of transgressions of you and your staff. You want to deal with this, or you want me to look at the following and keep you out of it?" I think while we look into Sean Gallagher,
I think President Trump would get so much pressure from Congress, Republicans in Congress, not to do that. Just if Speaker Mike Johnson does not want to dive into January 6th, it's a reason why.
So if you're a whistleblower / someone with access that works at AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, or other carriers that could potentially capture these packets of information being transmitted, that would be a vector to potentially obtain this information, right?
I don't think
by the U.S. attorney.
I don't know if they can do that.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out some ideas, Fred, Mario.
Yeah. I would say this.
And if there was foreign communications between those members of Congress or Sean Gallagher, it would be within the purview of, I don't know, the Director of National Intelligence.
I wouldn't know.
Through a FISA process.
That's above my pay grade.
At the FBI director level. Mr. Patel?
You already know me.
I'm just throwing out ideas for if
For me,
anybody
it's
that's listening in
and fixing the people
that
hurt.
maybe has access to any of these people that I'm mentioning to get to accountability.
I'm not looking for accountability. No, I'm looking for justice.
All right, I'm making some noises here for my side.
You fix the aggrieved people January 6th to include both sides of this, demonstrators, because Ashley Babbitt, at some point, she's about to be made. The family, she can't be made. She's gone. But I think that Judicial Watch, they're going to. I think at some point they're going to settle. The Capitals are going to settle, and they're going to pay Ashley Babbitt. But Ashley Babbitt was not the only person aggrieved on January 6th. Everybody that died, officers were hurt on January 6th. Demonstrators were hurt on them. Mentally.
So before we go there, sorry, because I want to talk about that, but I didn't let you finish like 3 times now.
You never want to. Okay, so let me finish with the stuff. Okay, so now goes up. Gallagher getting fired is off the table. So now you got a discipline
challenge accepted.
Okay. So now, so the word basically came down. Gallagher is not. The recommendation I heard was termination for Gallagher.
Oh, back then.
Okay. Yeah, I heard the recommendation was termination. Somebody squashed it. Don't know where. Don't know who. Don't know how.
If anybody listening in knows, please let Tarek or myself know.
So now
with evidence.
So now Gallagher and it was also decided he would not be prosecuted. So now. So Gallagher was a captain at the time, right? So now you still got to do something to him, right? So you give him a 535, which is the highest discipline you can give somebody, right?
What's a 535?
A 535 is discipline saying that you did something that could be, it's basically a terminable offense, but we're going to give you the highest discipline, and he got a 15-day suspension. It's the same thing I got for wearing the MAGA hat, right? So, and I'll talk about that later.
For wearing the MAGA hat because you didn't have a helmet.
I got the same.
And you were protecting your head.
I got the same discipline Sean Gallagher did for wearing. I wore a MAGA hat, right? I got a 15-day suspension to 535. Gallagher steals $10,000-$20,000, right? And he commits forgery, and we get the same discipline. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So anyway, yeah. So
I wonder what they do to you now if you wore like a Twitter hat.
So anyway,
like a year suspension.
So anyway, so Sean Gallagher. So they give him the highest discipline they can give him, right? Right. So now a 535 stays in your personnel jacket on your division for 3 years, right? So basically, you can't get promoted for 3 years after you get that in your jacket, right? So they had to do something, Sean Gallagher.
Right.
Okay. So almost 3 years exactly. Okay. So then they move him to the Capital Division, right? They don't demote him. They just move him to the Capital Division. He should have got demoted for that, right? He should have been fired, or at the very least demoted. But you move him, now he's in charge of the Capital Division, right?
It's a criminal felonious act. I mean, there's no...
Yes. Okay. But it's Sean
That's
Gallagher.
jail time right there.
Not for Sean Gallagher. So anyway, so you move Sean Gallagher to the Capitol, right? Okay, so now he's there for the Capitol for 3 years. He can't get promoted to inspector for 3 years, if he can even get it, right? So now you got to send a message, right, to the whistleblowers, right, who reported Sean Gallagher that you don't report Sean Gallagher, right? So they waited exactly almost to the day, 3 years, and they promoted him to inspector, right? And they put him back over the same unit. They took him out of the Capitol and put him back in charge of the same unit where he stole the money. What message do you think that sends?
The problem is no one outside the Capitol knows that this is going on. No one.
Did you know that?
I just heard it for the first time right now.
So you promoted him, right? You waited exactly 3 years, right? And it's funny because him and I got promoted on the same day. I got promoted to lieutenant. He got promoted to inspector, right? I saw him at the Capitol. We congratulated each other and everything, right? 2018. So he got promoted almost 3 years to the day. So they waited until his discipline could come out so they could promote him. They could have probably promoted an inspector that needed inspector.
They probably backdated the promotion.
No, they didn't do that.
And then paid him.
But they wanted to make sure
for the difference.
He had the spot, right?
Who's they?
Whoever approves the it's the board that does the signing off on the which board? Catholics. They do the promotions. Yeah. They know about all the promotions.
So the Senate and the House Sergeants at Arms.
Everybody knows about Sean Gallagher's promotion, right? So they waited exactly what year was that? This is in 2018. June 2018. He gets promoted to inspector. So
June 2018. Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House.
He gets promoted to inspector. So
Paul Irving was the House Sergeant at Arms.
I think you're correct. So, but look, you wait exactly.
Noted.
Yeah. So you wait.
Noted.
But hear this though, right? So everybody knows what Sean Gallagher. Everybody knows he stole that money. Everybody knows he.
To include this House Sergeant Arms.
Everybody.
To include Paul Ryan.
We all knew it. Everybody knows this was public. This was the union documented. Everybody said he should have been fired. We thought he was gone. And then
2018.
2018 is when he got promoted.
He did it.
And they put him
so
back.
2015.
2013. I mean, he was doing it for you from 2013 to 2015.
That was the tail end of President Obama, but that doesn't matter because this is all House stuff. This is all Congress stuff. It doesn't matter who's in the White House.
Doesn't matter who's in the White House.
Because they have no role, no power, no influence, nothing. So then 2015, 16.
2015
is
when everything came out.
Speaker of the House, Paul Irving.
Everybody knew Sean Gallagher.
Is the House Sergeant Arms still, right?
Paul Irving was still House Sergeant Arms, correct.
Okay.
Pretty sure it was Paul Irving. Could have been the other. Was it Living Good? I think it was Paul Irving.
No, because Irving goes back.
I can't remember when Irving came in.
Irving was a Sergeant at Arms for Pelosi, Paul Ryan, John Boehner, Pelosi.
Make a note of that. So anyway, right? So
keep going.
You got to send a message, right, to the people who, because everybody knows that Sean Gallagher took that money. So you give him that discipline. 3 years you can't get promoted. You got to give all the money back that you stole. Right?
So how's morale when everyone else is
crap? But you shut up though. You don't talk. It's like
it's just disgusting.
You ever heard?
You're disgusted working for the organization you're in.
It's like the mob. Gallagher is like a mob boss, right? Like you don't admit the existence of this thing. You don't talk about this. The only reason why we're talking about Sean Gallagher now is because of January 6th. Like Sean Gallagher will still be powerful, and people just wouldn't know. Now people are going to find out.
We got to look at all of his devices and all of his communication.
So and I'm not even finished with Gallagher. Okay, so you got to send a message too to make sure that you don't ever. So people got to know that you don't report Sean Gallagher, or you're going to get crushed.
Do you use social media? Does he?
Sean Gallagher?
Yeah. Is he on anything?
I don't think he's on anything.
Facebook?
I don't think he's
LinkedIn.
He might be on LinkedIn. I'm not sure.
All right.
So, you got to send a message to the people too. So you wait the exact 3 years. Now you can promote him to a special, and you promote him.
And he goes back, boom.
And you put him
back
to
dignitary.
Same unit.
Yes. What's the name of the unit?
Dignitary protection. But you put him in a higher rank. He was a captain when he was there the last time.
And so now he gets to.
Now he's even more powerful.
Play ball with the 9.
Yes. Now he's even more powerful when you bring him over. And then when you get promoted to deputy chief, you leave him over there. Now he's deputy chief over there. So yeah. So
what's his position there now?
He's assistant chief now. He's probably going to be.
He's
chief.
above that though, yeah.
Yeah. So and so now let's fast forward to now, right? Sean Gallagher gets promoted 3 times after he sold the money and everything. He got promoted to inspector, deputy chief.
Does he live in D.C., Virginia, or Maryland?
I have no idea where Sean lives.
Okay, let's look that up so we can make sense.
So anyway,
I'm just telling people listening in. Let's look that up. And,
so anyway, so now after you steal the money,
we'll come up with solutions.
After you commit the forgeries, you get promoted to inspector, deputy chief, and assistant chief. Right. Now he's probably about to be the chief. Now that Major's gone. So
is he on the short list?
Sean Gallagher is always on every list. The list can be long. Sean Gallagher's name is at the top because he's Sean Gallagher. So anyway, right. So now,
but when you say because he's Sean Gallagher, my interpretation of that is because he has dirt on every single person in the leadership of the U.S. of the legislative branch.
It means
leadership of Congress, House, and Senate to be able to continue to do whatever he wants to do. If it's rank, money, whatever.
I would use it. This is what I say, right? Because
it's speculation.
My focus is on Sean Gallagher. So it's a speculation that it's because he has dirt on Congress. What is not a speculation is that he has power.
That's where does that power come from?
So that's how I focus on where the power comes from. He has the power. So like
no, but I need more details than that.
Well, we're working on that. But you gotta hear me out.
Okay? Sir, yes, sir.
Some of the richest people in the world,
Lieutenant?
Right? You never know who they are, right, until something happens, until they buy Twitter. Because there are a lot of people who never heard of Elon Musk until he bought Twitter. Or some people heard of him when they were Tesla.
Well, that's what we're trying to flesh out here.
So now,
this conversation.
Sean Gallagher has the power. Where he gets it from, whether he gets it from Krypton, the planet Krypton, or where he gets it from the sun or whatever, it's debatable. But what is not debatable is that he does have the power.
Okay.
So he can do. Sean Gallagher can commit crimes and he will not be prosecuted. Sean Gallagher can January 6th. Sean Gallagher's actions led to the death of multiple people. Nothing happened to Sean Gallagher. We got proof that he had that intelligence and he withheld it.
The only thing that immediately comes to my mind, I'm going to stress this again. He has power, I agree. The way he got to this power is through the leverage and dirt game. Because when you're in those positions, and both you have committed transgression, and those that have more power and influence than you do, you observe their transgressions, you now operate as protectees of each other in life.
Yeah, and we can go with that, but to me,
now I need evidence.
I'm a factual
assessment.
guy.
That's an assessment. I'm not saying that that's true.
I know.
I'm just telling you.
I'm just saying
that is what first thing comes to mind is that's I shouldn't say probably, that is possibly the answer to that.
Because I'm a guy.
The way we find out about it, I want to look through all of his devices.
Okay. So let's say he got the power from, let's say, Krypton.
And then let's go ahead and pull all the CCTV footage.
Yeah. Let's say, for argument's sake, right, he has the power.
Of Gallagher's movements on the Capitol grounds. And let's pull all of his email systems through the Sergeant at Arms. Bill McFarland can go ahead and provide that.
Go for it. Have at it.
And then we look at all of his communications.
He got
look at this. Oh, look at that. And then we just say, you know what? America, look what we found. And oh, by the way, as part of that, we found some things that mean an element of a crime. And that element of a crime occurs in Washington, D.C. And that then goes to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia, Ed Martin again. And if Mr. Gallagher lives in Virginia, then we can say, hey, Jason Miyares, the Attorney General of Virginia, you might want to look at this criminal activity. Or, depending on where that occurred, we might have some allies to address that.
Yeah, but his criminal acts have probably statute of limitations have probably run out on those criminal acts. So now, January 6th, fast forward to January 6th, people won't even admit that it was him that withheld that intel. He won't say, he testified, I think, once, and that was about, I think, the pipe bombs. But, Sean Gallagher has never been grilled. He's never been.
Should we invite him to do a public interview?
I would say, yeah. He should answer some questions.
Public interaction, debate,
discussion. Yes. But you have to ask him the right question. You have to ask it the right way because he's going to have Tad on his side. And Tad.
I got a few questions for Tad myself.
I have a lot of questions for Tad.
A few thousand.
But the whole thing is this. So now he gets put over the way he gets put over at. Then he gets promoted, to inspector, deputy chief, assistant chief. And now let's talk about Sean Gallagher. Let's fast forward to now. Sean Gallagher has messed up lately. So now Sean Gallagher, you know what he's in charge of now? He's the Operations Bureau commander. Every gun incident, now there have been multiple gun incidents within the last, since Donald Trump has been president, of guns getting in the Capitol, of guns almost getting in the Capitol. And do you know who the Bureau commander is? Who has failed tremendously during that time? Because any gun that gets in is because
Is his first name Sean?
His name is Sean.
Is his last name Gallagher?
His last name is Gallagher.
Oh, so it is Sean Gallagher.
Yes, it is. And now,
so it's not a laughing matter. So no, I've been reading your tweets on that particular note. Mm-hmm. So during the inauguration, which happened inside of the Capitol,
correct?
Because originally it was going to be outside.
And I was glad
because of the threat reporting that was taking place on President Trump's life. Well, at that time it was president-elect until he was inaugurated.
He didn't have it inside. 100%.
The risk was so great that they had to have it inside, and the guy that was responsible for his protection on the inside of the Capitol,
Sean Gallagher,
was literally making decisions, potentially, that put President Trump's life in danger.
100%.
And at risk.
100%.
So, President Trump, if you're listening in, Secret Service, if you're listening in, Elon Musk, if you're listening in, and anyone else that cares about our constitutional republic remaining stable with a stable presidency, might want to scrutinize every single step, move, breath, blink, and swallow of saliva of Mr. Sean Gallagher to see whether or not he poses a risk
Okay, now
to the nation
let's say for
and
argument's
the
sake,
president.
let's say, is that about right? Let me explain it this way. Let's say for argument's sake, right, that everything I've been saying is right. And Sean Gallagher really did withhold that intel. Sean Gallagher really did lead he was part of a system that retaliated against anybody that said anything that would be favorable to President Trump. Because January 6th was an insurrection. And these people said that, hold on. There's some information that you guys don't know. And then Sean Gallagher helped crush those people. So now, because these people try to say, hey, listen, I know that the narrative is that January 6th was an insurrection led by Donald Trump, sending people down to the Capitol. So then you have whistleblowers, multiple whistleblowers who says, no, hold up. We told them what was going to happen. It wasn't an insurrection. It was this, it was this, it was that. And then Sean Gallagher said, you're not going to talk about that, and we're going to crush you guys. And Sean Gallagher, Pittman, what I'm hearing was really just, it was, for the most part, it was, if it was under Pittman, it began, but it was Manger was the one who took the lead, but Gallagher was there, and Gallagher was helping. So it was to crush the whistleblowers, right? So now, if you really investigate January 6th and these whistleblowers, because you haven't heard from the intel whistleblowers, and they're the big ones, even more so than I am, right? I know some stuff, but the whistleblowers can talk about the intelligence director. Specifically, they gave Sean Gallagher. So now, Sean Gallagher has a vested interest, right? And Donald Trump not ordering, let's say for argument's sake, Donald Trump says, you know what? I want an investigation on January 6th, right? Because if it was Kamala Harris became president, January 6th is done. Everybody else in jail would still be in jail. So
more people, they would have tripled.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else would have been.
I might have been in jail.
We would have shared a cell together.
Yes. So the thing is this. So now let's say for argument's sake, right? If President Trump wakes up one day, right, he's like, you know what? Because Speaker Johnson already said he wants it to be done. And
is that because Sean Gallagher's pressure and influence is over
that? I don't know.
Mike Johnson, possibly.
Yes, I would love that. Mike Johnson will have to explain that, right? But let's say President Trump says, you know what? If he does this tomorrow, he says, I want an investigation of January 6th. Now, the person that protects President Trump, because when the President Trump comes into the Capitol, he belongs to Sean Gallagher. Yeah, so now,
that's what I was getting at earlier.
His level of protection.
Same thing with the vice president.
Yes. His level of protection is up to Sean Gallagher. So now, the person that...
Because the Secret Service are allowed in there by the Capitol Police. Secret Service and the president, any outside law enforcement entity into the Capitol has to get approved and synchronized and coordinated with the Capitol Police, right?
Yes, but
it's to include the President of the United States.
Yes, but it's not even that. Because the Secret Service cannot protect President Trump when he's in the Capitol. It's the Capitol Police. This is why. Because we man all the entrances to all the doors, and Secret Service don't have the manpower to have officers at each one searching each bag.
Yeah, so if you want to basically say, you know what? Oh, President Trump's in the Capitol. Everyone's authorized leave. Go home.
Yes. Or yes.
And then, by the way, don't screen anyone. Have everybody come into the Capitol. Click clack. Oh, whoopsie. Not my bad. He's gonna say, right? That wasn't not my bad. That was crazy.
Exactly.
So you create the vulnerability.
The person who has a
for the objective that you're trying to create.
The person,
just like January 6th.
Or you create the atmosphere where another person, because all you do
where the risk becomes,
because
it turns into 100%.
If people look at television, right, and they see there were 3 times somebody made it into the Capitol with a gun, right, 3 times, and then one person, and then one day on the actual inauguration day, they got the guy, right, and the issue was because I know there was some confusion, but on the actual State of the Union Day, the person did not get in with a gun. They got him at the entrance, right?
Yeah, because the first time was the inauguration indoors. Second was the State of the Union.
Yeah, but it was another day when somebody got in, I think, through the CBC, and they got in. But anyway, but the big one, the days that Trump was there, right? So he was there on January 20th, right? But let me talk about the March 4th incident on the day of the State of the Union. So the issue wasn't that, they got the guy when he came in, they saw the gun, they got him, they got everything on that day. The issue was when they arrested the guy, right, and they took him back to process, and he was like, what is the big deal about this? I brought the gun in yesterday. So he brought the gun in on the 3rd, right? So people say, well, it wasn't on inauguration day. If a person brings a gun into the Capitol, right? Let's say somebody, but now this is a staffer who was not trying to commit any harm. The issue is that the problem is that under Sean Gallagher, people could view the Capitol as a soft target. And I don't think that I know Sean Gallagher doesn't have the Operational Services Bureau expertise to stop guns from coming in. He was on operations when he was at the Capitol, maybe for a few years, but Sean Gallagher doesn't have much operational experience at all. He was a Protective Service Bureau guy. He knows that side. He doesn't know the operational side. So asking Sean Gallagher to stop guns from coming in the building, he has absolutely no idea what to do. So why would they put somebody in there like I have? Yeah, I'm an expert at that. Put somebody in there that has operational experience to know a gun has never made it past me. You know, a gun has never made it past any officer that was under me being supervised. You know, so Sean Gallagher can't say that. Multiple times and multiple guns have got into the Capitol in only like a 3-month period under Sean Gallagher.
I gotta ask this since you're talking about this. So Michael Byrd left his service weapon inside of the Capitol at the CDC, I believe, right?
Yeah, CDC.
In one of the restrooms that was accessible to the public to include children. What year was that, and who was his commander?
I can't remember what year that was. It was maybe 2018, 2019. I can't remember.
So Capitol, that would have fallen under Capitol Division.
Yeah, it was Capitol Division.
And then
Sean Gallagher wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
No.
Okay. So that would have
wasn't there.
That's another anomalous question. Like nothing really happened to him.
To
Byrd.
Yeah, he got the same discipline that Sean Gallagher did for stealing all the money.
3-year probation.
He got a 535, and he got I think a 3-week suspension for that. So he did get
3-week suspension.
Yeah, okay. So he got punished.
All right.
So getting back on track. Right?
Back on track.
Yeah, Sean Gallagher.
Okay,
so
keep going.
Now in the he's been Operations Service Bureau commander. I can't remember when he got it, but since President Trump's been elected, there have been 3 successful incidents where people got into the building with a gun, and one where they caught the guy at the entrance. So, obviously, Sean Gallagher has no idea what to do.
And of those 3 times successful, well, actually 3 successful, how many times was President Trump?
Okay, so now the 3rd incident, on March 3rd, person got in. To me, so that incident still, even though it wasn't on that day, it's still, the person still got in, right? But let's throw that one out, the 3rd and the 4th. Let's go back to January 20th, right? So on January 20th, right? This is what I heard. I heard it was the Assistant Chief, Benedict, who authorized a person who was in possession of a weapon to be in the rotunda while President Trump was being inaugurated. So that person didn't have to go through screening. That person wasn't vetted beforehand. So that it's like they had no knowledge of that person coming up, right? This is still under Gallagher. It was the Assistant Chief.
Were they in a protective role? This person
was the Benedict was
authorized.
He was the Protective Service Bureau commander, but the person that he brought in, I'm hearing, was a personal friend of his or a relative or something. So
was carrying
a gun. So now,
is that normal?
No. So you can't have.
How abnormal is that?
Super abnormal. Now this is the thing. You can't have anybody anywhere near the President of the United States that wasn't vetted by the Capitol Police and the Secret Service beforehand.
So why?
Because
this happened?
Because of the failure of the Operations Bureau commander. Now the Protective Service Bureau commander made a mistake too. But the thing is this: Sean is supposed to tell everybody
it was authorized.
No.
So this guy just rolled in.
He rolled in with the person he brought in. Sean Gallagher. Because you got to make sure
without going through screening.
Yes. And placed it, and then I heard the person went to Statuary Hall for the presidential luncheon after.
So it sounds like to me, as a layperson, the president's life is in danger every time he steps foot into the Capitol.
While Sean Gallagher is in charge, because this is the thing. I don't think that Sean Gallagher. Do I think Sean Gallagher is trying to kill President Trump? No. Do I think that Sean Gallagher has any regard for President Trump's life? I don't. I think that if Trump died or was killed, then Sean Gallagher could say, I don't have to worry about any investigation at this point. So I think that Sean Gallagher is a win if Trump dies. For Sean Gallagher, I don't think Sean Gallagher is trying to kill him, but he's creating an atmosphere.
That's why it's so important to expose this
his
guy.
actions are creating an atmosphere where a person could say, you know what, the Capitol is probably, if I want to kill President Trump, the Capitol is probably where I should try to do it at, because I'm not going to go to the White House because that's a harder target. I'm not going to go here. I'm not going to go there. The Capitol is where I should try to do it at.
And that's where the Secret Service is subservient
to the Capitol Police.
It's the only place in the country.
It's probably one of the only places in the country where I would say so.
Bam, that's the message.
Yes, so that's the thing. So President Trump belongs to Sean Gallagher whenever he comes to the Capitol. Period.
Secret Service, listen in. President Trump, listen in. Everybody that
both of them have them. They're not hiding their feelings. They believe it was Trump. I've spoken to the whistleblowers. They have none. Maybe people don't even believe that these whistleblowers exist. Maybe they believe I'm making it up. But you can go look at news articles and see that there were whistleblowers that went to Michael Bolton. There are articles out there. Their names are not on there, but they don't have the information that I do. And one thing I always say about anybody, I say everybody, with maybe the exception of the new, was agreed on David Lazarus. I don't know if you know who David Lazarus is.
That's another name.
With the exception of David Lazarus and the new, my position is that everybody on the ground that day were agreed, to include Michael Burger, to include Donnell, to include Harry Dunn. I still feel that way. So, and people get angry with me because I don't crush them, but then other people on police side get mad at me because I won't talk about the January 6th, right? Because if I believe everybody was set up on the ground, with the exception of Newell and David Lazarus, how would I, other people are going to focus on what the January 6th people did as far as the violence. I know what happened that day.
4 years.
I'm out of it. I don't have to. Why should I go and double down on what CNN is doing every day? Talking about how much everybody is a terrorist. If you're there, if you walk through the building or whatever, you're a terrorist.
And that's how we cross paths, because we're trying to focus in on things that haven't been investigated
yet. So if somebody else wants to focus on Donnell, Michael Bird, and then do it. If somebody wants to focus on that a demonstrator maced an officer, I got gassed that day. My eyes still hurt to the day. I think my vision was impaired permanently because of what happened that day. I don't know who gassed me, but yes, I had multiple incidents in the film. If somebody could pull the film, you could see me, an officer came and grabbed me and doused my eyes with water. I don't know who the officer was even to the day. But everybody on the ground that day was agreed. So I'm focusing on the people who set it up. So people can, so CNN, look at the, who did this.
Same here.
Yeah, other people you can focus on Donnell, Michael Bird. So that's not what I'm doing.
So there's the setup and then there's the cover-up.
I'm focusing on
the
setup and
for me, part of the cover-up is when you're testifying, when you're perjuring yourself, like Lazarus, that was clear. He perjured himself in a trial later of where he was at and what he saw and observed, and then communicated that supposedly to Harry Dunn. Mm-hmm. The video doesn't support what he said at all.
Lazarus' offense was so egregious. Like, typically you said, well, I'm going to wait till the investigation. What Lazarus did was so bad, it's nothing you can't defend, it's nothing you can say. So that's why Lazarus is on a different...
It's a culture, though, of deceit and corruption. When at the highest levels you have the Pittmans, the Gallaghers, Manger coming in to cover it up, right? Lazarus what was his rank?
He was a special agent. He worked for Pelosi.
So he was directly assigned from the dignitary
to Pelosi.
To Pelosi, right?
Yes.
That brings in another component.
You didn't know that?
I heard it.
Yeah.
But you now, you're a very credible individual. So now I know that that's a legitimate thing. Before I was like, people are writing about it on the internet. I'm like, I don't know if I trust it. You just told me it for the now we got to go into this. Talk to me, Lazarus.
Lazarus did was so bad. I mean, he literally put himself in a location in a different building when he wasn't there, and he actually
Steve Baker laid it out perfectly.
It totally discredits Steve Baker. Drop kicked him. It was a drop kick, and what David Lazarus did, he villainized the Capitol Police with his actions, and he made people hate the Capitol Police. And it
discredits that alone. Discredits just like primarily 5 FBI agents discredit the entire institution based on what happened in 2016, 17, and some of the censorship. David Lazarus, when people see what happened and watch the video and his testimony,
there's no way.
Steve Baker put together.
What he put together,
it discredits the entire testimony of all U.S. Capitol Police officers. That's how bad it was.
He put everything and I believe, David Lazarus is one of one.
It's the Pandora's. It's literally the key that opens up.
Let's
look everywhere else.
David Lazarus.
Let's look at Harry Dunn's testimony. Yeah. Let's look at Akinilo Ganell's testimony.
David Lazarus is the unicorn. Like, he wasn't even there. And then he got to retire. And then Manger went and had this fake investigation that cleared Lazarus of all charges.
Meanwhile, his testimony resulted in guys getting 22 years.
And he walks away
in jail.
He got the smile.
Based on the lie.
His lie.
And that, I'm talking about Stuart Rhodes.
Yeah,
22 years, and he wasn't pardoned. Stuart Rhodes didn't even enter the Capitol.
Yeah, I know.
He got a commutation, so he's still a convicted felon.
What David Lazarus did. So now
I want accountability.
So my question is this, and let me ask you this one. And I would like to, if Stuart Rhodes was here, I would ask him today, right? Because now the FBI, they brought me in, right? Did you know I was subpoenaed in this case? So they brought me in. They brought me in, right? So FBI brought me in, agents and everything. So I was there. My attorney was there, everything, right? And so the Capitol Police wanted to be in the room when I testified, right? I told them, I said, I told the AUSA, I said, if the Capitol Police is in this room, I am not talking at all, right? So they said, well, we don't know if we can do the interview. I said, then fine, I'm leaving, right? So then they walked out, right? And then they said, we're going to do it. Because the Capitol Police wanted to hear everything I had to say. They said, we know you have issues with the Capitol Police, but we want to be in there. I said, absolutely not. If the Capitol Police is going to be a part of this, I am walking out now. So the Capitol Police couldn't be in there, right? So they were pissed, I know. So anyway, I told you this, right? Okay, so now
this is excellent.
Yeah. Okay, so now they asked me questions, right? So now I don't give a damn. I'm going to tell the truth, right? I'm not stacking the deck against anybody. So they wanted to say they asked me about the incident. I mean, with the mega hat, steps and everything. They was like, do you think they asked me if I knew who they were. I said, yes. I found out later that they were oath keepers, So now the FBI, I would give the FBI credit here. They didn't try to lead me at all. They just asked me questions and that's it, right? So they were going to call it. So I guess after I told them what I told them, they didn't want me to testify, right? But I told them, I said, listen,
testify at the Oath Keepers trial.
At Stuart Rhodes' trial. I was subpoenaed in Stuart Rhodes' trial, right? I got the subpoena at home, right? Yeah. So I was subpoenaed in his trial. So when I went to the FBI, they wanted to talk to me first, and they said they may have me come and testify, right? So I sit in there. FBI, I can't remember the FBI agent's name. My attorney would know. My attorney, and it was the AUSA, right? We were all there, and then they asked me questions. Who was the AUSA? I can't remember his name. It wasn't the main guy, but it was somebody. Okay, assistant, right? But anyway, so they had a big screen and they're showing me videos of me going up down the steps, right? And it's funny because, and I'll add this part, right? When I look at the video, right? I see Danita Newell in there. I'm like, oh, I had no idea she was there, right? So but that's another story because my discipline was, I'm not even gonna go there. This is another sector, right? But when I saw it, I was on fire. I was angry when I saw it, right? And I was Danita Newell. But anyway, so they showed me this big screen, right? And they showed me, so it was like, do you believe that the Oath Keepers, right? They asked me to describe the incident. I told them everything, right? Do you believe they helped you? I said 100%. I was like, they said, you think you could have been? I was like, if those guys would not have helped me, I said, I don't know what would have helped. What would have happened to me going up and down those steps? I said, they absolutely helped me, right? I said, so they didn't leave me. They didn't try to push me to say, hey, they didn't push me into
no violence, nothing, right?
Yeah. So I'm talking about the FBI agents.
Okay.
They weren't trying to lead me to a conclusion. I told them the truth.
But also the Oath Keepers, there was no violence that you saw that they.
The Oath Keepers, one of those guys. I'm not gonna say their names. I know. You may know their names. I don't know, but I know one of them doesn't want his name out. He's trying to distance himself from this. But both of those men helped me. One was in the front of me, and one was in the back, and they escorted me up and they escorted me back down. And so like I said, I don't feel comfortable that I would have made it up those steps in that crowd by myself without those guys. And I told the FBI the truth, and I would have said that if they called me to testify. But then after that, my attorney, they told my attorney they don't need me to testify.
Of course.
So their narrative. Yeah. So I didn't testify. But no, I wasn't going to lie. It didn't matter. We know Biden was in charge, the Biden regime, and I know what they wanted. But I wasn't going to stack the deck and lie for anybody. I'm not doing that. I'm going to tell you the truth. They helped me. I don't care who is mad. If you say, well, we're going to do this to you. It didn't matter to me. I was going to tell the truth, and I did. And they didn't want my testimony in court.
And that's why U.S. Capitol Police wanted to be present. Who from the U.S. Capitol Police was going to be present?
Her name was, let me get her name, actually.
That's important because it sounds like she was the one that was facilitating the cover-up.
Let's see, what's her name? Let's get her name.
We're going to have to do a little deep dive on her.
Let's see.
Real deep.
Yeah.
Not as deep as Sean Gallagher, but still.
Yeah, I'm going to get her name now.
And then as you're pulling it up, the last one's going to be Jennifer Hemingway, the new Senate Sergeant at Arms, former Director of Operations for Speaker Paul Ryan. What was the name of the U.S. Capitol Police officer that was there when you were that wanted to attend your interview with the FBI?
Yeah, so it was her name was Lisa Walters, right? So I got an email, right? It says, Mr. Johnson, I have been advised that your testimony has been requested by the defense in the upcoming Oath Keepers sentencing schedule before U.S. DJ Mehta as
U.S. District Judge
Yes.
Mehta.
Okay, so let me go back. It was I'm 99% sure it was Lisa Walters that they wanted in the room, right? So then later on, they got notified. The Capitals got notified that that the defense wanted me to speak, right? So, and I got this email, right? It says, Mr. Johnson, I have been advised that your testimony has been requested by the defense in the upcoming Oath Keeper sentencing schedule before U.S. DJ Mehta. As you may be aware, USCP, OGC assists former employees of the department in these types of matters, especially when the testimony sought may pertain to or involve department events, operations, etc. In the event that you would like the assistance of the USCP, OGC is the Office of General Counsel.
Right.
Please advise, thank you, Ms. Banky. So I told my attorney, right?
So Ted Tobias is
So now when I saw this,
wanting to provide
I was on
assistance.
fire when I saw this, right? Because this is in 2023. After I had already left the department, and I'm already speaking out against them. So now I get this, right? So I was wanting to fire him back. It was like I wanted to be disrespectful because that's the first feeling I got. So my attorney said, "Tari, don't do that." He says, "Just
you're like,
oh hell
no."
I wanted to say, "Are you freaking kidding me? You dirty." Yeah. So, but didn't do that. I think I just said, reply, thank you. And I was respectful. But when I saw that, I was on fire. But it was Lisa. I'm 99% sure it was Lisa Walters back in 2022. It was November of 2022 when they wanted to be in the room. I said,
was she a deputy general counsel?
She was Lisa Walters. During the time of this email, she was the senior counsel, Office of General Counsel.
Yeah, so she works for Ted Tobias.
Yes.
Interesting.
So it was her. So
say her name again, Lisa?
Yeah, her name was Lisa Walters.
Lisa Walters?
I think it was Lisa L. Walters.
You just gave me a little homework assignment.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying she was part of the setup or the cover up. I'm just saying that she wanted me She wanted to be in
I
the
get
room.
it. I'm saying she might.
It was an absolute no. You say N Walters. N is in Nancy Walters. But yeah,
no relation to Pelosi.
Yeah, but they asked me to testify. Well, they subpoenaed me. The AUSA. I went. Told them what I saw. They didn't want my testimony.
When did they give you the notification that they didn't want your testimony?
I think
after the interview.
It may have been a couple weeks after the interview. And then I got in May. They said the defense wanted me to speak. And nobody subpoenaed me from the defense, right? So people get mad. Why you testify? Nobody subpoenaed me to do. Nobody subpoenaed me. So if I get subpoenaed, I'm not going to duck. I'm not hiding. I'm not going to a hotel. If I get subpoenaed, I'm going to speak.
I'm not going to a hotel like Michael Byrd.
Well, his situation, he was getting death threats, like horrible death threats. People wanted him dead. So, and you and I, you know my position on that. He was put in an unwinnable situation that he should have never been put in by Pittman and Gallagher. He should have never been. And then when I was evacuating, you listen to the radio transmissions. Pittman or Gallagher, they had the intel. They could have helped me with that evac. They knew what was going on, and they wouldn't. They just listened.
All right, so last one.
Go for it.
Jennifer Hemingway.
I don't know her at all. I just recently, I haven't
never crossed paths with her.
Never crossed paths with her.
So just so you know, and
I know she's the Senate Sergeant at Arms now, though.
She's now the Senate Sergeant at Arms. She used to be Paul Ryan's Director of Operations when he was the Speaker of the House. Does that mean anything to you?
No.
So the Director of Operations, a senior staffer for the Speaker of the House.
That'll be the same as Jamie Fleet was at.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So my analysis when it comes to that is, I believe, and the only way to prove me or disprove me is for us to get in the mind of Paul Ryan or look at his communications, or Senator John Thune, who's now the Senate Majority Leader. I suspect that there was a conversation between Paul Ryan and John Thune to have her selected as the Senate Sergeant at Arms this year, being the chair of the Capitol Police Board, to allow another opportunity to cover up for what you and I are trying to expose. January 6th and the leadership failures, intentional cover-up, etc. In addition to that, that's why they moved Senator Mitch McConnell. Political pressure. They basically moved him from being a Senate Majority Leader to the chairman of the Rules Committee. That's the committee that has oversight over January 6th, the Capitol Police. You think Mitch McConnell's going to do anything?
I do know this, though. Do you know who Jennifer Hemingway's deputy is?
Who?
Do you know?
I don't.
I know you don't know. Okay, so Major promoted 3 deputy chiefs, right? Yeah, you were so it's good. We should have been taught, right? So
I know we can talk more.
So Major promoted 3 assistant chiefs, deputies who were deputy chiefs, assistant chiefs, right? Well, I take that back. Benedict was from outside of the department, so he brought Benedict in, right, and made Benedict an assistant chief. He made Sean Gallagher, who was the deputy chief, he made him assistant chief. He made Jason Bell. You probably never heard of Jason Bell. So Jason Bell, he made Jason Bell, who was the deputy chief, assistant chief, right? So now you got 3 new deputy chiefs, right? Now, all of his appointments, right? So he made those 3 appointments. You know, Gallagher. He being Major. He promoted a dirty Sean Gallagher. He promoted Benedict, who may have brought a person in with a gun and put him next to Donald Trump.
That's who you heard? Sources?
I heard it was Benedict who brought the person in and put a personal acquaintance of his in the rotunda while Trump was giving his inauguration, unvetted with a gun. Yeah. So, like I said, Benedict ended up getting moved from Protective Services Bureau, and they moved him over to training. So, so this training more important than leadership and criminal, like the IED, investigations. Anyway, so you move him, and then you put a deputy chief, and you make that deputy chief, I guess, the acting assistant chief of Protective Services Bureau, and her name was Janita Mitchell.
Slow down. Name? Jenny?
Her name is Janita Mitchell.
Janita
Mitchell. Yes. And this is the thing. Janita Mitchell is super smart, very qualified, so I got no issues with that. But still, she's still a deputy. Hopefully she'll get promoted to inspector. Assistant. But right now, you moved Benedict over. So the question is, why did you move Benedict? If they're trying to say that there's because the Capitol Police said the other day, there's no record of the gun incident in the rotunda when President Trump was speaking on his inauguration day, right? They didn't say it didn't happen. They said there was no record of it. Yes,
it wasn't written up.
So I promise you, Tad the bias did this right here. So this is the issue. Why do you move Benedict then? And so then you move Benedict. And so now, why not suspend Benedict? So they already said there's an investigation underway. Why don't you suspend Benedict? Because you damn sure suspended the officer who let the gun in on the 3rd of March. But you don't suspend Benedict. And the officer, he accidentally missed the gun, which still is a problem. But Benedict purposely brought the person in the building, allegedly brought the person in the building and put him in there with Donald Trump. So now, but you don't suspend him. The reason why Manger didn't do that is because Manger was the one that hired Benedict, and it's an embarrassment to him to suspend somebody he brought in. He already got the corrupt Sean Gallagher and then Jason Bell. Okay, so, and I heard this pissed off Manger, right? Jason Bell barely waited till the ink dry on his resume before he applied to leave the department to work for Jennifer Hemingway as her deputy, Sergeant Arms. So all 3 of his deputy chiefs, assistant chiefs, have issues. Obviously, Jason Bell leaving, Benedict bringing the gun in, allegedly bringing the gun person in, and then Sean Gallagher, who's corrupt, can't keep guns out of the building. These are Manger's hires.
This leads me to the last question.
Go for it.
But before I ask you the last question, is there anything else that you want to address that we haven't addressed yet?
Ivan, we will be here for another 5 or 6 hours. But this
really high level.
The high level number one thing is this, and I can say it all day long. I'm not fighting for. I know you're not gonna like this, but when the corruption is at a level 10, you can. I'm not saying that justice or accountability can't be fought for.
This goes into my last question. Then it sounds like.
Okay, so let me bring it home. Perfect. Okay,
let me ask it.
Okay,
so that we're clear.
Okay, I'll let you ask it, but you gotta let me answer it though. Go ahead.
I will.
Go ahead.
Tit for tat. Chief of the U.S. Capitol Police, Tarek Johnson. What would you do as Chief of Capitol Police if you were designated as such tomorrow?
Oh my gosh!
In these categories, what personnel moves? Who would be relieved and investigated, and who would you replace them with?
Well, I will tell you this: if they made me Chief of the Capitol Police, anybody that was corrupt, because they already know I know who they are, right? Because it's a lot of names I haven't even said, right? They would resign. They would start transferring to different federal agencies. I wouldn't have to do anything but walk in my office and just sit there. And then the notices would come in. People want to resign. People want to retire, and I would let them go. Because this is the thing. You want a chief, right? This is what you want to occur, right? Because as a chief, you have to look forward, right? You can't necessarily look back, right? You will probably have to put somebody in charge of that to do investigations or whatever, right? But you have to have a balance with your job, Congress. My thing would be, I would do what needs to be done to create justice for the people that were aggrieved. And that can come out of the Capitol Police. And the first thing you have to do is you have to say, hey, listen, something was wrong. Something happened here. Because if right now, Pittman and Gallagher are national heroes right now. So if they're national heroes, there's nothing for the government to fix because Capitol Police did their job perfectly on that day. But if they messed up before, during, and after January 6th, and it hurt officers and demonstrators, then you got to fix that.
Right.
So now the truth will come out, but also you can balance that with the expectations and the wants of the members of Congress. Because at the end of the day, you want to make the department go forward. You want to make Congress happy, and you want to fix what was broken. That's what I would do.
Who would you designate to investigate those?
I wouldn't say the name here, but I have a good.
Well, you already know.
I know exactly who I would do. Yes, I know exactly who.
And you already know who a general counsel replacement would be.
I would find somebody that's Tad would definitely have to go. Obviously, no way. Yeah, but no, we agree on a lot. Yeah, we agree on that. Yes,
you're one of very few people I agree with a lot.
Yes, I know exactly what I would do in every leg, and and I could, do it to where you're not pissing off Congress, and you're taking care of the people that were agreed on January 6th, and you're making the department go forward. I'm an operations guy, so I'm going to stop the guns from coming in because Gallagher can't do it. So I'm going to stop the guns from coming in. I'm going to give the officers what they need because that's ultimately what it is. And I'm going to show the officers that officials are going to be held to a higher standard because right now, the way it is supposed to be is that officials are supposed to be held to a higher standard. When they watch Gallagher walking around and slithering around Capitol Hill, it doesn't show them that because everybody knows how dirty he is. So I want to show the officers that the officials that supervise them are going to be finally held to a higher standard. That's what I would do.
But you're not the top of the food chain. To finish off this last question, who would be your ideal House Sergeant at Arms, Senate Sergeant at Arms, Speaker of the House, and Senate Majority Leader?
I would have to think about
and Architect of the Capitol.
I'm gonna take away the Senate Majority Leader. I'm not dealing with anything with Congress.
That's
members
who
of
you
Congress.
report to though as a Capitol Police.
And I'm gonna report to whoever has the position. But the Sergeant at Arms for the Senate and the House, not you said the Majority Leader.
Okay, we'll just do the.
You meant the Senate
We'll
Sergeant at Arms.
just do 3 of the 5 that I mentioned. So the Architect and then the 2 Sergeants at Arms.
I think
who would be your ideal number 1 draft pick?
Son would be. I would say he could take either the Senate or the House Sergeant at Arms positions, whatever one he wanted. So another person I like to think who. I like to think about the second one, the Son for sure, because Son has a grip and understanding of the politics more now than he did when he was chief, and he has institutional knowledge of the position of chief, so he would be useful there. So I would put Son as one of those people. The other one, I don't know. I have to think about, and as far as if I was chief, I know what I would do. You would have to find out what happened, not necessarily look for accountability. But you would have to fix what was broken. People need to know the truth so they can have trust in the department again because a lot of people don't trust them.
Okay. And do you have any other recommendations for Barry Loudermilk?
I'll say just him keep doing what he's doing. I know there's so much he can do if he's getting pushed back. But like for me, like Congress, I tried not to be critical of Congress. Like I'll jump all over Liz Cheney and the other guy. Thanks to Brad Baby. Yes. Yeah, I love Caesar. I beat them up on X all the time. Because if you're a former congressman, you're game. You're fair game. But if you're a current congressman, because I don't want to piss them off, because pissing them off doesn't help the cause. So I try to stay away from that. I try to focus on. I don't play by that rule. I try. Yeah, you don't. I do. I focus on. I
don't discriminate.
Yeah, you don't at all. I'm gonna focus on Gallagher. So Gallagher is my number 1 focus. Can't do it by myself, so I'm gonna keep talking. Hoping some people want to join the fight.
Tarek Johnson, patriot, American hero.
Thank you.
You're gonna go down as a very consequential figure. You have so far, and I think it's only going to amplify.
And honestly, I could care less about any of that. I'm ready to be done with this, but I can't leave this fight until it's finished. Because and I had some personal conversations, and I was angry sometimes, and I wanted to say, forget this. This is bull crap, but I can't get out. I can't leave. I'm here.
I detained you.
Yes.
Tarek, I appreciate you.
Absolutely, brother.
Fantastic. It was good. That was very good.
And are you aware that the United States Capitol Police's General Counsel Tobias, in a transcribed interview, has attempted to invoke attorney-client privilege, yes or no?
Yes.
And if yes, did you instruct him to do so?
No.
Okay. Notwithstanding the fact that attorney-client privilege does not apply, in my opinion, in this case, because this is a legislative branch investigating a legislative branch entity, common law, established practice, and the Congressional Oversight Manual stand for the proposition that there is no attorney-client privilege in such cases. And notwithstanding that this committee or Congress might be the client as opposed to you in your official capacity, if you are in fact the client, would you waive the attorney-client privilege between you and lawyer Tobias? Yes or no?
I trust his judgment on the attorney-client, the use of the attorney-client privilege.
Do you understand that? I don't think it is your privilege, but if it is, it's not his privilege, it's your privilege. The lawyer doesn't have that privilege. You do. If it is in fact your privilege, would you be willing to waive it?
I would take my attorney's advice.
Well, it's a privilege. It belongs to you. It doesn't belong to your attorney.
I understand that.
So if he's giving you advice on that, that would be a conflict of interest for him. Do you understand that? You would need to get separate counsel for that.
I deal with my general counsel all the time on these issues, and I trusted his advice.
All right. I understand you trust his advice, but this is specific between you and he, and therefore he would have a conflict in advising you on this. I suggest you get separate counsel for that.
TK Johnson. They have the seriously officially plan the develop biological weapon. The only one goal is to take down.
We're back with more changes at DOD. This time, an update on